As night fell, neon lights swam among the tall buildings in the city like spiritual snakes. There was a strange sweet aroma filling the air, which was the afterglow after the spiritual energy burst out. It was as if there was an invisible layer of gauze between heaven and earth, making every mortal who breathed in faintly tremble. The square of Jiangchen University was buzzing with people. Thousands of students huddled together and stared at the high platform in the center. It was the stage for the warm-up meeting of the Immortal Cultivation competition. The luminous talismans were floating in the air, making a low buzzing noise, like the breathing of a beast. Shen Qingqing gritted his teeth, his thin body trembling in the crowd. Her long black hair was messy and shawl around her shoulders, her school uniform was washed white, and she held the ancestral jade pendant around her neck tightly with both hands. The jade pendant was simple and unpretentious, usually just a cheap accessory, but now it was faintly hot, as if it was trying to penetrate into her flesh. She looked down at the mottled stone bricks under her feet, and a flood of ridicule filled her ears. I heard that her ancestors were also from a family of immortal cultivators. As a result, there was a joke that the spiritual root was incomplete. It has been 3 years since the spiritual energy broke out, and she is still wandering around the first level of qi refining, which is embarrassing. Good for nothing. Good for nothing. Shen Qingqing still dares to join in the fun? The spiritual roots and 5 elements are impurities, and he can't even touch the edges of the spirit gathering stage, ha ha ha. A chubby boy pointed at the edge of the crowd and laughed loudly. His voice exploded like a firecracker, and the surrounding students burst into laughter. Some even spit out the spiritual tea in their mouths. The tea spilled on the ground, and a light mist instantly evaporated. Yes, young Master Jiang Chen said that a waste like her is not even worthy of being cannon fodder. Another girl agreed sharply, her eyes full of jealousy and pleasure. She shook her head and imitated Jiang Chen's tone. In the world of immortality, the weak eat the strong, so losers should go back to farming among mortals. On the high platform a figure slowly rose. Jiang Chen, the young master of the Jiang family of the Alchemy family, was in the middle of foundation building at the age of 20. He was dressed in a white robe embroidered with gold spirit patterns, and a jade furnace hung on his waist, exuding bursts of alchemy fragrance. There was an arrogant sneer on his handsome face, and his eyes were like knives as he swept across the audience. Dear students, the campus cultivation competition will begin in 3 days. Whoever wins the first place in the Qi gathering pill and the foundation establishment liquid will be given a top-grade pill by Jiang himself. But after a pause, his voice amplified 10 times, and his spiritual power rushed straight to where Shen Qingqing was. Don't embarrass yourself, those useless trash. Shen Qingqing, do you hear me? Your spiritual roots are not even as good as my toes. Shen Qingqing's nails dug into the palms of her hands, and blood dripped down her fingers, staining the jade pendant red. In the past 3 years, the outbreak of spiritual energy has changed the world. Immortal cultivation sects have sprung up in the city. Rich second-generation dignitaries have awakened their high-grade spiritual roots and frequently built foundation pills. What about her? The family is in decline, and his parents died early, leaving only this dilapidated dormitory and the ancestral jade pendant. On the day of the spiritual root test, the whole school broadcast live. Her gray and mixed spiritual roots made the instructor sigh on the spot. What a pity, with this face, she can be a mortal wife. The whole audience burst into laughter. The students pointed and pointed. Some even threw a spiritual fruit shell and hit Shen Qingqing on the shoulder. The juice splashed everywhere and the sour taste went straight into the nose. Jiang Chen's followers laughed. When the young master comes out with his magical elixir, who can compete with him? The last time that loser made elixir, the furnace exploded and there was black smoke, haha. Shen Qingqing's chest was on fire, and tears welled up in his eyes. She turned around and squeezed out of the crowd, her back looking lonely and embarrassed. Downstairs in the dormitory, the night wind howled, and the chill mixed with spiritual energy was biting. She opened the door and saw her roommate Su Wan sitting cross-legged on the bed, holding a ball of fiery red fur in her arms, her fire civet, a spiritual beast in the early stage of foundation building. Its hair was like flames, and it could spit out spiritual fire with a gentle breath. Qingqing, are you being bullied again? Su Wan jumped out of bed, and the fire cat meowed and nuzzled up, its warm breath blowing on her face with a faint burnt aroma. Su Wan is her best friend, with a fire attribute spiritual root, and is naturally in tune with spiritual beasts. She usually protects others, but she also advised, Jiang Chen's family is powerful, and his talent in alchemy is unparalleled. Why do you have to be brave? Registration for the competition ends tonight, so don't go. Shen Qingqing shook her head and sat slumped on the edge of the bed. The jade pendant was so hot that her palms were numb. I don't want to be a loser anymore, she murmured, tears falling down and dripping on the jade pendant. In an instant, the jade pendant burst into brilliant golden light. The dormitory was like an earthquake. The tables and chairs were shaking wildly, and the fragrance of red pepper in the air was so strong that it was suffocating. This is... Su Wan's eyes widened, and the fire spirit cat's hair stood on end as it growled. The jade pendant cracked open, and a palm-sized ancient pill furnace emerged. The furnace body has ancient bronze patterns, with 9 dragons coiled around it and 3 tripods standing on it. There is a faint phantom of spiritual fire flickering at the furnace mouth. There was a loud bang in Shen Qingqing's mind, and a simple voice sounded. The ancestral elixir furnace, the 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron. Future generations need to heat it with their own spiritual fire before they can refine the heaven-defying elixir. Shen Qingqing was stunned, and when his fingers touched the furnace body, a warm current flowed into his meridians. She felt that the incomplete spiritual roots in her body were like dead trees blooming in spring, with faint flames beating. Spiritual fire. Heating? She took a deep breath and sat cross-legged to do her exercises. Qingqing, be careful. Su Wan nervously clenched her fists, and the fire cat jumped onto the cauldron, opening its mouth and spitting out a wisp of orange-red spiritual fire to assist with the blessing. Shen Qingqing gritted his teeth. The spiritual energy in his body surged to his dantian, and his lower abdomen was burning. Sweat is like rain and the clothes are soaked, sticking to the skin, outlining the exquisite curves. Her face was pale and veins popped up on her forehead. It hurt so much. The spiritual fire doesn't obey its orders. The furnace cauldron rejects me, this useless piece of wood. As time passed, the dormitory was filled with heat waves. The walls were scorched black, and the air was twisted like water waves. Su Wan was anxious. Qingqing, stop. This furnace is too overbearing. Your spiritual roots can't hold it. The fire spirit cat whined and the flames dimmed. Shen Qingqing's eyes turned dark, and despair surged in. Sure enough, I am a waste. I can't even recognize the owner of my ancestral belongings. Just when the spiritual fire was about to extinguish, her heart skipped a beat, remembering her parents' last words. Qingqing, the blood of the Shen family, never bow down. A surge of unyielding hot blood rushed to the top, and the dantian roared. Silks of spiritual fire erupted like a volcano, turning into a red torrent and pouring into the furnace. Buzz! The alchemy furnace shook violently, the ancient Kowloon pattern came to life, the dragon's eyes breathed fire, and the furnace body hung in the air and rotated. The golden light soared into the sky, piercing the night and reaching into the sky. Outside the dormitory, the students screamed, "What? A spiritual riot!" Someone rushed over, his face turned pale. Oh my God, is there a calamity in that useless dormitory? In the furnace, the ordinary elixir Shen Qingqing put in a few wild grass Ganoderma lucida melted instantly. The spiritual fire was blazing, and the elixir was fragrant. It was so rich that Su Wan knelt down and couldn't help but swallow her saliva. This fragrance is purer than Jiang Chen's top-grade qi-gathering elixir. The fire civet rolled excitedly, its fur intertwined with gold and red, and howled. It's done. Shen Qingqing opened her eyes. The cauldron fell to the ground, and 3 crystal-clear and round qi-gathering pills rolled out. The elixir is completely transparent, contains golden spiritual lines, and emits a buzzing spiritual sound. Su Wan picked up one and it melted at her fingertips. Her spiritual power filled her body like a river, and the bottleneck in her early stage of foundation building was loosened. Qingqing, this is the best qi-gathering pill. No, it's close to perfect. Jiang Chen can't refine this. Shen Qingqing swallowed one pill, and there was a loud bang in his body. The impurities in the spiritual roots are removed, The fire attribute spiritual roots are awakened to the highest quality, and the 5 elements are balanced. The spiritual power surged, from the first level of qi refining to the 5th level. The meridians widened, and the whole body was as light as a swallow. In the mirror her eyes were on fire and her temperament took on a new look, like a fairy descending from the earth. Ha ha ha! The good-for-nothing counterattacked. Su Wan laughed, and the fire civet jumped on her shoulder and licked her face. Outside the dormitory door, passing students heard the commotion and poked their heads in. They wanted to laugh, but when they saw the fragrance of elixir blowing in their faces, they all stared. Heaven elixir furnace? Shen Qingqing, you succeeded in refining the elixir. The news swept through the campus like a storm. In the square, Jiang Chen was showing off his own elixirs with his followers, when he suddenly heard a student running towards him. Young master! Something bad has happened. That loser Shen Qingqing activated the ancestral Immortal Furnace. 3 elixirs in 1 furnace, the best qi-gathering elixir. After Su Wan ate it, her spiritual power skyrocketed. Jiang Chen's face was ashen, the small jade bottle in his hand shattered, and the elixir spilled on the ground. The attendant beside him trembled. Impossible! Her spiritual roots. Humph, you're pretending to be a ghost. Jiang Chen sneered, with a sinister look in his eyes. But deep down in my heart, there was a trace of uneasiness. He turned around and announced loudly, "Everyone, 3 days after the competition, I, Jiang Chen, will personally take charge. Any loser who dares to sign up will be crushed by me. Shen Qingqing, if you have the guts, just come. Let the whole school see how I will step on your joke." Under the stage, Shen Qingqing walked slowly, surrounded by spiritual energy, and the fragrance of elixir was still there. Accompanied by Su Wan, the fire civet cat stands proudly among the others. The students gasped and some people rubbed their eyes. She has changed? That aura is so strong. 3 days have passed like a fleeting moment, and Jiangcheng University Square has been transformed into a holy place for cultivating immortals. The giant spiritual formation hung high in the air, its runes shining like stars, and its humming and low humming made the eardrums tremble. The scent of elixirs and spiritual fire is mixed in the air, as strong as boiling spiritual soup, making people's noses feel hot and their throats thirsty. Tens of thousands of students and instructors gathered together, and the projection screens on the surrounding high-rise buildings broadcast live broadcasts. The global craze for cultivating immortals focused on this place. The rules of the preliminary round are simple and cruel. In the alchemy competition, each person has a furnace of mortal elixir and a stick of incense for a limited time. The person who refines the qi-gathering pill with the highest quality will advance. Those who lose, their spiritual roots are damaged, and get out of here in despair. Shen Qingqing raised his head, looked directly at Jiang Chen, and sneered at the corner of his mouth. Jiang Chen, you will see the truth in the competition. I, Shen Qingqing, am a loser? In 3 days you will regret today's arrogance. The whole place was dead silent and then boiled. Jiang Chen's pupils shrank suddenly and he clenched his fists. Okay, I'll wait for you, a loser, to die. But his voice was faintly trembling. In the night wind, Shen Qingqing touched the alchemy furnace, her heart boiling with excitement. The competition will be the first battle of her counterattack. But behind Jiang Chen, the shadow of the Jiang family looms. Can she settle the matter? Look, isn't that loser Shen Qingqing? He was showing off 3 days ago, and now he dares to come and die. In the crowd, a Jiang Chen follower's fat face was twisted, and his voice sounded like a pig howling. The surrounding students were whispering, someone was spitting spiritual phlegm, and the green liquid fell to the ground and corroded the stone bricks. I heard that she had a brilliant light in the dormitory that day. She was just pretending to be a ghost. Her spiritual root is incomplete, making alchemy? It's normal for the furnace to explode. Shen Qingqing lowered his head and walked. The 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron shrank into the size of a jade pendant, hidden in his collar, and felt warm against the skin. Su Wan followed closely beside her, the fire civet curled up on her shoulder, its hair flashing golden red, and occasionally growled, scaring passers-by. Shen Qingqing's temperament has changed. Her 5th-level qi refining spiritual power is restrained. Her eyes are like fire, but she is deliberately hunched over, pretending to be weak. In the past 3 days, she had practiced 2 furnaces in a low-key manner, and kept the remaining 2 top-quality qi gathering pills in her pocket, just to test her skills without showing off her skills. On the high platform, Jiang Chen was hunting in white robes, and in the middle stage of foundation building, he was as powerful as a mountain. His jade furnace hangs from his waist, the fragrance of elixir is fragrant, and the elixir in his hand shines like jewels. Everyone, let's take a look at the secret elixir recipe of the Jiang family today. He laughed, pouring his spiritual power into the jade furnace. The fire in the furnace soared to the sky, and dozens of high-grade qi gathering pills rolled out. The pill lines were clear, and the spiritual energy was like mist. The whole audience gasped, and a female student screamed, "Young Master Jiang's magical skill! The effect of this elixir. 1 pill will go straight to the 9th level of qi refining." Jiang Chen's gaze was like a poisonous snake, and he locked onto Shen Qingqing. Humph, some trash thinks that activating a broken cauldron can turn him around? In the preliminary round, I, Jiang Chen, will unite with the forces of the aristocratic families to customize the spiritual array. Those whose spiritual roots are lower than the middle grade will have their furnaces extinguished and forcibly refine elixirs, and their meridians will burst. He pointed a finger, and the spiritual array in the square buzzed. An invisible pressure fell like a giant net, approaching Shen Qingqing. The followers laughed. "You loser, get out." Young Master Jiang said, "You are not even qualified to participate." Shen Qingqing's steps stagnated. The pressure of the spiritual array was like a heavy hammer, and the spiritual fire in his body trembled faintly. The surrounding students ridiculed. "Why don't you kneel down, you loser?" Jiang Chen's family dominates the urban immortality circle, and all the rich and powerful children give him face. A mentor frowned and whispered, "Shen Qingqing, quit the competition. This formation is aimed at you, and if you are strong, you will destroy your spiritual roots." Su Wan clenched her fists, and the fire cat's hair exploded, but Shen Qingqing held her back. "Wanner, bear with it." The atmosphere of despair was like a dark cloud, and Shen Qingqing bit her lip, blood oozing out. She felt that her meridians were on fire, and in front of everyone had foreseen her joke of exploding into black smoke. Jiang Chen sneered, "You loser, give up and I'll spare your life." The whole audience roared with laughter like thunder. At this moment, Shen Qingqing took a deep breath, and the jade pendant was slightly hot. She quietly took out a few wild Ganoderma lucidum, an ordinary elixir, and threw it into the small cauldron in the palm of her hand. It was a temporary borrowed furnace, dilapidated and unpretentious. People around her sneered. "You don't even dare to use your own cauldron? You're afraid of making a fool of yourself in public." She sat cross-legged, the fire spirit roots in her body quietly running, not relying on the power of the cauldron, but using the remaining top-quality qi gathering pill as a guide. Crush a qi gathering pill, and the powder will blend into the elixir like golden mist. Shen Qingqing's fingers flew dexterously. Wisps of spiritual fire burst out from the fingertips, and thin orange flames licked the medicinal materials. In the air, a faint fragrance of red pepper floated, first light, then gradually as strong as wine. The pressure of the spiritual array intensified. Beads of sweat rolled down her forehead, her clothes were soaked, her body curves were looming, and her face was as pale as paper. "I can't hold it anymore," someone whispered. But in an instant, the fire in the furnace exploded. The medicinal liquid boils, the spiritual energy condenses into elixir, and the buzzing sound resounds. 2 qi gathering pills were formed. Although they were not of the highest quality, the pill patterns were delicate and radiant with aura. She passed easily, with half a stick of incense left. The whole place was dead silent. A follower rubbed his eyes and his voice trembled. "This was made from waste wood? The quality of the elixir is of the upper grade level." The female student widened her beautiful eyes and screamed, "Impossible! How could she do it under the suppression of the spiritual array? That spiritual fire is so pure." The instructor rushed up, picked up the elixir and took a whiff, and his face turned pale. "Oh my God, the effect of this elixir is better than young Master Jiang's high-grade elixir. Is she hiding her strength?" Jiang Chen's pupils shrank suddenly, and the small jade bottle in his hand almost fell to the ground. The attendant beside him had weak legs. "Young Master, she..." She didn't use the Immortal Furnace, that's all? Jiang Chen's face turned pale and he forced a smile. It's just a small test. In the final, my family's secret elixir will kill her. Shen Qingqing stood up, wiped the sweat from his forehead, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and looked like a hidden dragon emerging from the abyss. Su Wan rushed over excitedly, the fire cat meowed, its breath was sprayed on her neck, and the burnt fragrance hit her nostrils. Qingqing, your elixir. The best powder guide? It's so awesome. But I think your spiritual fire is unstable, and it may be difficult to refine the great elixir. She came closer and whispered, my fire cat's fire attribute is pure, let's cooperate. It assists in heating your 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron. The must-refined magic elixir. Best friends join forces to sweep Jiang Chen. Shen Qingqing's heart felt warm and she nodded. Okay. Wanner, have you noticed the secret of the furnace? Su Wan blinked. 3 days ago in the golden light, my fire cat sensed that the cauldron needs the blessing of 2 fires. Together we are invincible. The fire cat jumped on her shoulder, wrapped its tail around the jade pendant, and rubbed intimately. The warmth poured in, and Shen Qingqing felt that the furnace cauldron was faintly excited. The preliminaries continued. Shen Qingqing advanced in a low-key manner, but it aroused murderous intent. Jiang Chen's eyes were sinister, and he secretly sent a message to his followers. There is something wrong with that useless jade pendant, go and steal it. It will destroy her spiritual roots. A bastard in the early stages of foundation building, a disciple of the Jiang family, named Li Guden, came out with a sinister smile. His body was like electricity, and his spiritual power wrapped around his fists, and he rushed towards Shen Qingqing. Trash, hand over the immortal cauldron. Young Master Jiang, spare your life. The whole crowd screamed and the square was in chaos. Li Guden's fist howled. The fishy wind hit his face, and the foundation building pressure caused nearby students to vomit blood and fall to the ground. Su Wan shouted angrily, seeking death. The fire civet breathed fire to stop him, but was slapped away with a palm. Its hair was scorched black, and it fell to the ground whining. Shen Qingqing protected Su Wan, the jade pendant became hot, and she felt angry. It's too much to bully someone. Li Guden smiled evilly and reached out to grab the jade pendant. Little girls, be good. Before he finished speaking, Shen Qingqing's dantian spiritual fire erupted. There is no need for a cauldron. The red flames in her palm are like dragons, and the power of the pure fire spirit root pours out. Boom! The spiritual fire reacted like a volcano, and the orange-red torrent swallowed up Li Guden. He screamed, his skin was charred and blistered, and the fishy smell filled the air. His foundation-building spiritual power collapsed instantly. His meridians were severed. He spurted blood and flew back 10 feet, smashing the stone platform. My spiritual root. Li Guden twitched, his voice was like a ghost crying, and his eyes were as round as a dead fish. This fire? A top-grade spiritual fire? How is it possible for waste wood? The whole audience was shocked. The students retreated, their faces as pale as paper, and someone knelt down. God damn it! A palm seriously injured the foundation? She must be a monster. The instructor shouted in a trembling voice. Shen Qingqing. Li Guden has violated the rules and is disqualified. Jiang Chen stood up, his white robe stained with blood and his fists clenched. Good. What a good Shen Qingqing. You are hiding deep. But his voice was trembling faintly, and the legs of his followers were as weak as mud. Young master, this good-for-nothing, has too much firepower. Fierce, what should I do in the finals? Jiang Chen gritted his teeth and amplified his voice, and the whole audience heard. In the finals, I, Jiang Chen, will go into battle in person. The secret pill of the 9 nethers will kill me with 1 pill. Shen Qingqing, do you dare to come? Su Wan held up the fire civet cat and glared at Jiang Chen. Qingqing, fuck him. Shen Qingqing touched the jade pendant and sneered. Jiang Chen, see you in the finals. My fairy furnace will make you kneel down and beg for mercy. The fragrance of elixir and spiritual fire were intertwined around her, and she was as powerful as a queen descending. The students screamed in admiration. Fairy Shen! Crush young master Jiang. The loser reverse course, it's amazing. The spiritual array in the square flashed, and the preliminary round came to an end. Night came again. Neon lights and auras glowed together. Shen Qingqing and Su Wan left side by side. The fire civet licked its wounds and restored its golden-red luster. Behind him Jiang Chen's shadow loomed, and he dialed the secret message of the family. Father, that immortal furnace must be snatched. Han Xiao, the business tycoon, is also eyeing the speedmaster. From a tall building in the distance, a pair of cold eyes stared at Han Xiao, the corners of his lips curled up. Interesting, useless alchemy furnace? The urban cultivation circle is about to be reshuffled. The night was like ink pouring. The aura of Jiangchen University Square soared into the sky. The giant spiritual array buzzed like thousands of insects vibrating together, shaking the ground slightly. Tens of thousands of people surged in, and the projection screen of the high-rise building flashed live broadcast, and the global immortality video barrage flooded the screen. Jiang Chen will win. The good-for-nothing Shen Qingqing is dead. The fragrance of the preliminary match elixir lingers in the air, mixed with the smell of sweat and burnt earth, and the nose stings. On the high platform of the finals, surrounded by foundation building instructors, the rules have been upgraded. Refining the explosive elixir, the secret recipe of the family, a limited-time half-stick incense, and the winner is the one with the highest elixir quality and explosive power. Those who fail will have their meridians broken and half of their spiritual roots destroyed. The final is approaching and the storm is brewing. Shen Qingqing knew in her heart that Jiang Chen's secret pill was powerful, but she had Su Wan and Huolingmao teaming up to prepare the 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron. A furnace of divine elixir will surely shock the world. On the high platform, Jiang Chen was hunting in white robes. In the middle stage of foundation building, his spiritual pressure was like a mountain collapsing, forcing the nearby genius students to turn pale and their knees weak. An ancestral jade furnace hangs from his waist. The furnace body is engraved with 9 ghost patterns, and the blue spiritual fire is faintly dancing. Everyone! Zhang's Juyo explosive flame pill shocked the world today. He laughed, the sound was like thunder, and his spiritual power surged into the elixir blood spirit flame grass. Netherworld crystal and other rare items were piled on the table. The jade furnace roared, the furnace lid popped open, blue flames shot 10 feet into the sky, and the heat wave hit the face like a tsunami, making the audience sweat like rain and their clothes evaporate. The whole audience gasped and a genius alchemist stared. Oh my God! The intensity of this fire is at the level of the late stage of foundation establishment. The fragrance of the elixir surged, and it was as spicy and pungent as a sea of blood boiling. The liquid in the furnace boiled, and the spiritual energy vortex distorted the air. Click! The elixir was made into 12 pills. The particles were as red and black as magic beads, with explosive flame patterns on the surface. One pill popped out for testing, and exploded with a bang when it hit the ground. Stone bricks with a radius of 3 feet were shattered. The fire wave engulfed the test puppet, and the smell of burning embers filled the air. Perfect top grade. The explosive power is as good as the golden elixir, the instructor announced in a trembling voice, and the students screamed, Young Master Jiang! How can Shen Qingqing compare? Jiang Chen stood proudly looking at Shen Qingqing like a knife. Come up here, useless! How dare you touch my 9 nether pills with your breaking fire? The buzzing of the spiritual array intensified, and the invisible giant net locked onto the high platform, suppressing only Shen Qingqing. The pressure was like 1,000 swords piercing her heart. Her steps staggered. Her face was as pale as a ghost. Sweat rolled down her forehead like beads, and her cheeks were soaked with blue silk. Everyone around laughed at the frying pan. Kneel down, you loser! Jiang Chen's family dominates the city with one hand, and the powerful are licking his feet. Su Wan gritted her teeth and protected her sides. The fire civet's hair exploded, and it roared like thunder, but was suppressed and dragged its tail on the ground. Haha, that loser Shen Qingqing really dares to come here. Jiang Chen's follower laughed sharply, his fat face twisted like a rotten melon, and his voice was harsh and cut through the night sky. The surrounding students echoed with a flood of ridicule. The spiritual roots are incomplete, it's just bad luck in the first round. The final spiritual formation is upgraded, and you have to kneel in the early stage of foundation building. She is refining the 5th level? It's normal for the furnace to self-destruct. A female student covered her nose and scorned. Look at her rags and dirty clothes. How can she stand on a high platform? Master Jiang, a powerful member of the family, will be crushed to death with one finger. Shen Qingqing bit her lip, her teeth stained red with blood, and the spiritual fire in her body trembled and was about to extinguish. Everyone had already smelled the stink of failure, and some people snickered. The furnace exploded. Her jade pendant fairy furnace? What a joke. It's difficult to borrow an ordinary furnace in the preliminary round. Jiang Chen snorted. Admit defeat and I will spare your life. Otherwise, your spiritual roots will be destroyed, and you will fall into the mortal realm forever. Su Wan's eyes brightened, and the fire cat meowed and jumped up, its golden and red tail wrapped around the tripod's feet. Qingqing joined hands. She poured out her foundation-building spiritual power, and the fire cat opened its mouth and sprayed pure spiritual flames, interweaving orange and blue into the bottom of the tripod. Shen Qingqing sat cross-legged, his blood boiling, and the 5-level fire spirit roots of qi refining surged wildly. She crushed the last top-quality qi-gathering pill in her pocket, mixed the golden mist with the blood spirit flame grass and other medicinal materials, and threw it into the furnace. Boom! The lid of the cauldron closed, and the 9-turn mysterious fire erupted. The red gold flame pillar shot straight into the sky. The heat wave burned the sky like a sea of fire, melting the iron bars of the high platform, and the steel juice dripped and sizzled. The dark clouds of despair were overwhelming. Shen Qingqing's heart was on fire, and the jade pendant was as hot as a soldering iron. She took a deep breath and suddenly took off the 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron. The cauldron swelled by several feet. The golden and red ancient patterns flashed. The roar of dragons and tigers resounded through the night sky, causing the spiritual formation to shake and gravel to fly. This ancestral weapon? A follower's legs were weak and his voice was as trembling as chaff. The furnace roared like thunder, and the divine elixir was formed. There was only 1/3 of the incense stick left. The lid of the cauldron popped open, and 18 golden elixirs rolled out. Each one was crystal clear, with 9-turn flame patterns flowing on its surface, and the spiritual light was as dazzling as a small sun. Shen Qingqing pointed his finger, and one pellet flew out of the test and landed on the ground. Boom. The explosion was like a nuclear explosion. A 10-foot-wide area turned into a sea of fire. The stone platform collapsed into a deep pit. The aftermath swept across. The nearby genius students' robes were burned, and their skin was red and swollen. They screamed, "Ah! This explosive power is at the level of a golden elixir. It's the best, an upgraded version of the explosive elixir." The whole place was dead silent. The students' eyes widened and almost fell out. What a waste! Waste firewood stove, so terrifying. The purity of this fire is 10 times better than Jiang Chen's. The instructor retreated, his face livid. Double fire blessing? Spirit beast assistance? The cauldron patterns are moving, as if they are alive. The red fragrance surged, no longer spicy, but as clear as fairy wine, mixed with golden light and spiritual mist, refreshing the nostrils and refreshing the heart. The spiritual power of those who heard it surged, and the qi refiners rushed straight to the 6th floor. Jiang Chen's pupils shrank into needle gleams, and the small jade furnace in his hand shattered. His jade furnace was actually pulled, and the blue flames exploded in response. Boom! The furnace body exploded, and the fragments were like a hail of knives. His white robe was charred, his chest was bloody and fleshy, and the stinking blood mist spurted out. His foundation-building spiritual power collapsed, and he knelt down and spurted blood. No! Impossible! My family's secret elixir was crushed by you? Spare me! Fairy Shen, I was wrong. Zhang's power is given to you, don't kill me. The voice trembled like a barking dog, and the followers wet their pants and crawled on their knees. Fairy Shen, spare your life. Master Jiang has lost miserably. The whole audience knelt down like waves. Tens of thousands of people lowered their heads, and kowtowed loudly like rain on banana trees. Fairy Shen's magical skills. This useless piece of wood defies heaven, and she is undoubtedly the champion. The female student admired with tears in her eyes. That elixir fragrance, it smells so good. When I smell it, my spiritual root comes alive. The instructor shouted in a trembling voice. Shen Qingqing, the perfect explosive flame elixir. 3 times more explosive than Jiang Chen, the winner of the University Immortal Cultivation competition Shen Qingqing. The barrage on the projection screen went crazy. God! A loser turned into a fairy and slapped the Jiang family in the face. The urban cultivation circle is unified by Shen Qingqing. In the afterglow of the climax, a silver-robed figure quietly appeared, Gu Sheng, a hidden master, with a face as simple as a pine tree, and a looming aura at the peak of foundation building. He came through the air, his footsteps making no sound, but the shock caused the spiritual formation to dim. My little friend, you are a genius with the dual fires of the divine furnace. Gu Sheng admired with his eyes and his voice sounded like a bell. I see that your cauldron pattern, the 9-turn mysterious fire, is the legacy of the ancient immortals. I have learned from my experience. The elixir fire needs to be led by the heart fire and the blood is boiling to refine the heaven-defying elixir. In the future, there will be many dangers in the urban cultivation world. Make good use of it. He waved his sleeves and sent a message into the secret. Han Xiao, a business tycoon, has sent a golden elixir master to lurk and covet your cauldron. He has penetrated the sect and is about to seize it. Shen Qingqing stood up, with golden flames swirling around her body. She was as stern as a queen, and looked down upon Jiang Chen like an ant. Jiang Chen, your family's secret elixir is like child's play in front of my 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron. Get out! She kicked him over with a kick, and there was a crisp sound of bones cracking. Jiang Chen rolled off the stage wailing like a pig. Su Wan rushed to hug her, and the fire civet licked her cheek, with the warmth of the burning fragrance. Qingqing invincible! Let's join hands and conquer the world. The students screamed and worshipped. Fairy Shen! Accept me as your disciple. The powerful people of the Jiang family are nothing but me. Fairy Shen is the only one in heaven and on earth. Shen Qingqing's heart trembled. Her jade pendant was slightly hot, and she handed over her hand. Thank you, senior. The whole audience worshipped even more crazily. Gu Sheng's figure faded away, leaving a jade slip falling into her palm, which contained the secret of cultivating immortality. The fragrance of elixirs lingers in the square, and the night wind brings the omen of bloody storms. Jiang Chen got up, his eyes were filled with hatred, and he secretly sent a message to the family. Father, Shen Qingqing's Immortal Furnace, the divine elixir is heaven-defying. Join Han Xiao and grab it together. From a tall building in the distance, Han Xiao clenched his fist with cold eyes. Waste wood? The furnace cauldron belongs to me. Urban cultivation, the shuffling begins. The night wind was like a ghost weeping, sweeping up the scorched earth and ashes of the square, mixed with the lingering fragrance of golden elixir, which hit the nose as sweet as honey, but mixed with the omen of blood. Tens of thousands of students knelt down, tapping their foreheads against the stone bricks, and the sound reverberated like war drums. The barrage on the projection screen was like a torrential downpour. Fairy Shen will never be defeated. Jiang family dignitaries, kneel down and lick the waste wood. On the high platform, Shen Qingqing's golden flames were lingering, and the spiritual mist around her body was steaming. The queen's aura looked down on all living beings. Jiang Chen was twitching in a pool of blood at her feet, and the black blood hole in her chest was bubbling, and the smell was pungent. His eyes flashed with hatred, his teeth bit into blood, and he secretly crushed the jade talisman for communication. Father! Shen Qingqing's Immortal Furnace is heaven-defying, and the divine elixir and golden elixir are explosive. Quickly contact Han Xiao, and use the strength of the family to seize the title. I am not willing to accept it. The talisman flashed and disappeared into the night sky. Su Wan jumped onto the high platform, the fire cat meowed like thunder. The orange-blue tail flame wrapped around Shen Qingqing's waist, and the warmth was like lava kissing the skin. Her eyes were filled with mist, and she hugged Shen Qingqing tightly. Qingqing, let's join forces and become invincible. This fire cat perfectly matches your cauldron patterns. The two fires heat up and refine 10,000 elixirs. Shen Qingqing caressed the cat's head gently, and the scent of burnt hair hit her nose. She nodded. From now on you are my official alchemy furnace assistant. In the campus cultivation circle, let's build power and win over with the distraction pill. Genius, crush the remnants of the Jiang family. When the students in the audience heard this, their eyes bulged, and a thin male cultivator gasped and stood up. Fairy Shen, take me in. Jiang Chen bullies me in March. I have a low-grade spirit. Please give me a chi-gathering pill. The female student next to her burst into tears, and her skirt was scorched. Fairy, my family is being squeezed by the powerful. The sarcasm suddenly arose, and a group of Jiang Chen's remnant followers with wet crotch legs crouched and snickered. Wastewood building a power? What a joke. Jiang family, Jiang Chen cultivator will cover the sky with one hand. No matter how powerful your magic elixir is, without spiritual stones to buy medicine, without sect to support, you will kneel down sooner or later. The Han Xiao giant has set its sights, and the business empire will crush you like an ant. Their voices trembled, but vicious as a poisonous snake. He spat out a message which attracted passers-by to echo. Yes, it's only been 3 months since the spiritual energy broke out, and there are many sects in the city. Shen Qingqing is a college student. It's just bad luck to be the champion. The chi-gathering pill is used up. No matter how good the stove is, it will starve to death. The pressure is like a mountain. Shen Qingqing's jade slip is slightly hot, and his pocket is empty. The best chi-gathering pill has been exhausted. Where will the future medicinal materials come from? The atmosphere in the whole place was stagnant. Admiration turned to doubt. Someone whispered, "Will the fairy be cold?" Jiang Chen got up to help. With the cloud of despair overwhelming, Shen Qingqing felt angry and squeezed Gu Sheng's jade slip. Buzz! The jade slip exploded with golden light and turned into a shadow of a simple figure. Gu Sheng reappeared. The aura of the peak foundation building was like a tsunami, forcing the followers to bleed from all their orifices. They were so scared that they ran away with their heads in their hands. Hidden master. Ancestor Gu. Sheng's eyes widened and his pupils shrank. Oh my god! Gu Sheng is legendary, the #1 in the Jiangcheng cultivation circle, and it is rumored that the golden elixir is immortal. How can I help this loser? Gu Sheng's eyes were as bright as lightning. He scanned the whole room, and his voice was like a loud bell that shook the soul. Little friend, the spiritual energy exploded. There is a global craze for cultivation, and chaos abounds in urban areas. Business giants such as Han Xiao are infiltrating the spiritual mind Dantian, and the weak are preying on the strong. The Jiang family is just a pawn, and the old Jindan monster is lurking behind Han Xiao, coveting the ancient immortal cauldron. There must be a conspiracy trap. He waved his sleeves, and the inner magic of the jade slip poured into Shen Qingqing's sea of consciousness. Hidden world mind technique, Xuanhua foundation building technique. The heart fire is boiling, the spiritual roots are burned, and the foundation is broken in half a column of incense. Shen Qingqing sat cross-legged, with jade slips wrapped in golden light. The red flames around him surged. The heat wave was like a volcano erupting, melting the stone bricks on the high platform, red pulp flowing sizzlingly, and the air twisting like water waves. The whole place was dead silent. A talented male cultivator knelt on his knees, his voice trembling. This foundation building momentum. The 5th level of chi refining goes straight to the foundation building. The mental method is terrifying. The meridians are burning. Su Wan's fire civet cat's hair stood on end, and he roared excitedly. Orange flames were injected into Shen Qingqing's vest to assist. Click! The joints crackled like thunder. Shen Qingqing's spiritual roots expanded, and the fire spiritual power was like a river bursting its banks, breaking through the bottleneck. Boom! The spiritual pressure exploded in the early stage of foundation building. The air in a radius of 100 feet burned, and ashes flew like black snow. The students sweated like rain, their clothes evaporated, and their skin was red and swollen. They screamed, "It's so hot! The fairy is building the foundation, the pure fire pressure. The golden elixir is invincible." The instructor stepped back, his face was pale and trembling. A genius from the heaven. Ancestor Gu personally taught. Shen Qingqing built the foundation in one leap. The campus is invincible. Gu Sheng nodded in admiration. With the magic of the divine furnace, you can roam freely in the metropolitan area. I retreat, and the jade slip will self-destruct. The figure faded away, and the golden light was absorbed into Shen Qingqing's body. She stood up, her foundation building spiritual pressure was like a queen's crown, and looked down at all living beings. Jiang family? Han Xiao. As powerful as ants. Tonight, the school's elixirs will be auctioned, magical elixirs will be distributed, and a small alchemy circle will be established. The students screamed and worshipped. Chen Xian, you are so powerful. Accept me as your disciple. The followers collapsed in fear and kowtowed. Fairy, please forgive me. Jiang Chen has joined forces with Han Xiao. We are betraying you. A fat follower said with a runny nose. I am of the highest quality, and I am willing to serve as a dog. As night falls, the square turns into a temporary auction venue. Shen Qingqing and Su Wan teamed up to place the 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron in the center. The golden and red cauldron has dragon patterns wandering around it, exuding the residual heat and burnt fragrance. Su Wan's fire civet is entrenched at the bottom of the cauldron, its orange-blue spiritual flames licking its feet, and its low sound is like the beat of a drum. The low-level elixirs Shen Qingqing threw into the campus and searched for were piled up, such as fire ganoderma, flame crystal essence, etc. Her foundation-building spiritual power surged wildly, and her heart boiled as she needed the secret. Heating with double fires, refining in batches. Boom, the lid of the cauldron closed, and the column of red-gold flames rose 20 feet into the sky. A heat wave swept the whole place, and the molten iron bars dripped with juice, making it sizzling. The fragrance of red pills surges up, as clear as fairy wine mixed with spicy peppers. The person who smells it hits the nostrils and feels restless, and the person who refines qi will jump straight to the next level. There was thunder in the furnace, and there was only one stick of incense, and the lid of the cauldron popped open. Hundreds of qi-gathering pills rolled out. Each grain was crystal clear and golden, with micro-flames flowing on the surface, and the aura was dazzling. The genius female cultivator next to her glared and almost dropped her eyes. Batch high-grade qi-gathering pill? The cost of ordinary medicine. The finished product is 10 times richer in spiritual energy. One pill is the best on the market. The male cultivators jumped on it tremblingly, their voices trembling. Fairy, 1,000 spiritual stones. Bidding was overwhelming. 2,000. The golden mist filled the air, and nearby passers-by inhaled it, and the spiritual roots buzzed. The third-level qi refiner broke through the fourth level on the spot, his face contorted with ecstasy. Magic pill. The spiritual power skyrocketed, and the bottleneck was shattered like paper. The auction was crazy. Spirit stones were flying like snowflakes. Shen Qingqing waved his sleeves and collected tens of thousands of mid-level spirit stones, and his wealth skyrocketed. The younger brothers swarmed around and said, Fairy Shen, I Li Xiling have a fire attribute, and I would like to be an alchemy boy. Wang Wu's family has access to spiritual mines, so I would like to offer them to you. Overnight, a small alchemy circle was formed, with hundreds of geniuses loyal to him, and the campus power was first established. In the distance, Jiang Chen hid in a dark corner, with the blood hole in his chest and the smell of rottening filling his nostrils. He gritted his teeth and sent a message to the family. Come quickly. Shen Qingqing is building a foundation. The magic pill is in batches. The city's spiritual stones are skyrocketing, and her circle is complete. Join Han Xiao and set up a plan to destroy her. In the afterglow of the climax, a gold-edged invitation fell to the high platform. The aura flickered, and Han Xiao's mark was imprinted on it. Su Wan opened it, and the fragrance was fragrant and mixed with a cold and murderous aura. Fairy Shen, the divine elixir shocked the world, and the Han group invited us to cooperate. Tomorrow, at the Lingbao Pavilion in Jiangcheng, we will discuss the supply of elixirs and share the urban cultivation circle. The boys in the audience gasped, and an old student turned pale, and his voice shook like a candle in the wind. Han Xiao? The commercial cultivation empire has its own golden elixir boss, and there must be a conspiracy to steal the magic mines. Shen Qingqing's eyes gleamed coldly, and the jade pendant cauldron trembled slightly, smelling blood and blood. Humph, powerful people are like ants, come on. Burn out the conspiracy with 9 revolutions. The square was brightly lit, the fragrance of elixirs lingered, and the sound of worship from the new forces was like a tsunami. Shen Qingqing stared at the night sky. The foundation-building queen's momentum soared into the sky, but she knew that Han Xiao's invitation contained the murderous intention of the golden elixir, and the urban cultivation storm was about to break out. The younger brothers worshipped and screamed. The fairy is invincible. Han Xiao kneels down and licks her. But far away from the high building, Han Xiao sneered and clenched his fists, and the shadow of the golden elixir master flashed. So what about the Wastewood Foundation building? The Lingbao Pavilion formation has been upgraded, and the battle for the tripod has been completed. The crisis is coming like an undercurrent. The gray mist at dawn wraps around Jiangchen University Square like a ghost, and the aftertaste of red incense mixed with the smell of scorched earth stings the nose and throat, making the nostrils of the young men kneeling in worship twitch and their eyes look as fanatical as those of believers. Shen Qingqing's foundation building's spiritual pressure was like an invisible crown, standing on a high platform, his jade hands gently caressing the jade pendant of the 9-turn black fire cauldron. The body of the cauldron was slightly hot, and the faint roar of dragons could be heard. Su Wan clung to her side, the fire civet curled up on her shoulder, and the orange-blue tail flame licked Shen Qingqing's sleeves. It was as warm as a lover's whisper, but mixed with a vigilant growl. Qingqing, this invitation has a strange aura. Han Xiao, that old fox, is an alliance on the surface, but deep down he wants to swallow the cauldron. Our small circle has just been established, and 10,000 spiritual stones are not enough to last more than a month, and the supply of raw materials will be cold. The faces of the newly loyal geniuses in the surrounding area turned pale. A tall, thin male cultivator with high-grade spiritual roots stretched his legs weakly on the ground. His voice shook like a broken leaf in the wind. Fairy, the Han Empire controls 80% of the spiritual minds in Jiangchen. They have taken countless things for free. Lingbao Pavilion is a tiger's den in the dragon's pond. The last time a casual cultivator went in to discuss cooperation, the spiritual roots were extracted and no bones were left. The female cultivator next to her said with tears in her eyes. Dan gray spots on the skirt. Yes, Jiang Chen's trash has contacted them. We are in the early stages of building the foundation. If we go in, we will die. It's better to stay low-key and avoid the sharp edges. The sarcastic whispers filled the air like poisonous mist. Doubts grew among the younger brothers. Some people lowered their heads. The magic pill is powerful, but the old monster Han Xiao Jin Dan is in charge, and the business elites crush everything. Aren't fairies just ants? The pressure was like a mountain avalanche. Shen Qingqing's heart was on fire. The patterns on the jade pendant and tripod were as hot as iron. The mystical fire foundation building technique in the sea of consciousness was churning, and the foundation building spiritual power was faintly restless. Han Xiao's invitation is floating in the palm of his hand. The gold edge is flashing, and the fragrance is fragrant, but it hides murderous intent and blood. She sneered, her voice like ice cracking. You are as powerful as ants, Lingbao Pavilion? I'm going to meet you. Wanner, summon the shadow of Senior Gu. The three of us will join forces to burn out the conspiracy. Su Wan nodded, the fire spirit cat's eyes brightened, and its claws lightly scratched the void. Shen Qingqing crushed a spare jade slip, the secret backup that Gu Sheng left before teaching the method buzz. The golden light exploded, and the ancient figure reappeared. The aura of Gu Sheng's peak foundation building was like a tsunami, forcing the gray fog in the square to evaporate and the stone bricks to crack. The younger brothers almost fell out of their eyes and screamed, Gu! Patriarch Gu reappears? Can the jade slip self-destruct and be summoned? God! The hidden legend protects the cripple. No, protects the fairy. The champion was crowned, and Shen Qingqing became famous in Jiangchen University. Students knelt down and shouted, but the crisis was like a hidden arrow, shooting at her 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron. The blood is not yet cold, the storm is rising again. Su Wan held Shen Qingqing's hand tightly, and the fire civet cat roared alertly. Qingqing joined forces to fight. Our alchemy circle will expand to the city and crush everything. Shen Qingqing nodded, his blood boiling, and his heart burning with spiritual fire. The night wind on campus becomes fierce, bringing with it the omen of sectarian competition, bloody commercial battles, and a craze for cultivation. Shen Qingqing is famous in Jiangchen, but he has entered a higher-level murderous situation. The Lingbao Pavilion in Jiangchen is like a giant beast entrenched. The 100-foot crystal hall is gleaming with light, luxury cars and boats gather in front of the door. The rich second-generation dignitaries are dressed in luxurious robes, and the smell of spiritual stones is fragrant. The three of Shen Qingqing landed on the ground, the jade light of the cauldron was restrained, and the queen of foundation establishment looked stern. The dignitaries passing by looked sideways and snickered. College waste? President Han invited her. What a joke. If a casual cultivator enters the pavilion, she must kneel down. In the main hall, the golden silk carpet was as soft as clouds. The air was filled with the sweet scent of spiritual fruits mixed with faint blood. Han Xiao was sitting on the throne, wrapped in a brocade robe. The spiritual pressure of the middle stage of the golden elixir was like the pressure of a mountain. The black shadow of the guest loomed around him, and his eyes were dark. He stood up with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Fairy Shen, the divine elixir is world famous and Han admires it. Supplier through alliance, sharing Jiang Chen's spiritual mines, your tripod produces high-grade elixirs in batches. I provide the raw material channels, and we share the profits equally. After saying this, the maid served the spiritual tea, which was fragrant, but it contained ecstasy powder. Shen Qingqing sniffed lightly, and the spiritual fire burned her heart to see through it. With a wave of her jade hand, the teacup melted into red pulp, dripping sizzlingly on the carpet and burning a black hole. The dignitaries in the audience gasped, and a fat second-generation rich man's trousers were wet. This? Foundation-building fire spirit root? Mr. Han's tea was poisoned, and she was incinerated at a glance. Han Xiao's face was slightly stiff, but he handed out the jade plate of elixir with a smile. Fairy is worried. How about a test tripod? These flame crystal marrow, fire ganoderma, and a batch of qi-gathering pills will prove that sincerity of cooperation. Shen Qingqing's eyes were cold, and she took the medicinal materials and threw them into the small cauldron. Su Wan's fire civet jumped up, and the orange and blue flames licked the bottom of the cauldron. Her heart was boiling and she needed heat with double fire. Boom! The flame column of the small cauldron rushed to the top. The heat wave distorted the air. The elixir thunder rolled, and the fragrance surged like a spicy fairy brew, and the meridians of those who heard it were restless. While he was refining, Han Xiao secretly needed the technique, and the black shadow of the guest sprang out like a ghost, heading towards the jade pendant on Shen Qingqing's waist. The sinister wind bit the bones, the soul-eating claws grabbed the soul, and the murderous intention of the foundation-building peak locked on the cauldron soul. You little bitch, the cauldron belongs to the Han family. The dignitaries in the audience widened their eyes and screamed, Sneak attack! Jiang Chen takes action. Shen Qingqing is dead. Su Wan roared, the fire cat's hair stood on end, and the orange flame turned into a fire whip and drew out snap. The black shadow's skin and flesh were torn apart by the whipping, and the burnt smell hit his nostrils, but the tip of his claws had already touched the jade pendant. Shen Qingqing's spiritual fire broke out. The mysterious fire foundation building technique burned his body, and the jade pendant dragon pattern came to life. The red gold fire dragon roared out. Its breath was like a torrent of lava, swallowing up the black shadow, burning his skin and flesh and screaming like a pig howling. The fire dragon is against the sky. The cauldron soul protects the master. Mr. Han, save me. The black shadow's 7 orifices were bleeding. He fell to the ground and twitched, and his spiritual power collapsed. Gu Sheng waved his sleeves, overturned the tsunami spiritual pressure, and slashed the air with the sword energy at the peak of the foundation building. Han Xiao, you are a man of little tricks, but you dare to bully my little friend? Han Xiao's face turned livid, and he stood up with a forced smile. Misunderstanding. You are so reckless. But the neutral forces in the audience, dozens of dignitaries of casual cultivators, their legs were weak and they knelt down, and their voices trembled. Old ancestor Gu. Fairy Shen's fire dragon protects the cauldron, and the foundation is invincible. President Han's conspiracy has been exposed, and we are loyal to the alchemy. An old cultivator with gray hair burst into tears and kowtowed. I control a spiritual mine, and the magic elixir saves my grandson's spiritual roots. Han Xiao was so angry that he didn't dare to force himself. The crisis was resolved. Shen Qingqing and the other 3 teamed up to drag the shadow into the small cauldron in the side hall of the club. Shen Qingqing threw in the healing elixir blood ganoderma and jade bone flower. The Su Wan fire civet occupied the bottom of the cauldron, and Gu Sheng's peak spiritual power was injected into the furnace. 3 fires combined, 9 turns of rejuvenation elixir. Boom! The flames of the cauldron soared 30 feet into the sky. The heat wave melted the palace pillars and the steel juice flowed. The elixir was like the thunder of the 9 days. The fragrance was as clear as the nectar mixed with medicine, and the wounds that hit the nostrils squirmed and healed. The eyes of the dignitaries in the hall bulged out, and a female cultivator screamed. 3 strong men joined forces. Rejuvenation pill, the best grade spiritual power to heal wounds 10 times the market price. Low cost, can be done in batches. The pill was completed, 10 golden pills popped out, and they circulated crystal clear. Shen Qingqing popped 1 pill into the black shadow's mouth. Snap! The golden mist filled the air, and his scorched blood hole healed instantly, and his white flesh was regenerated. He got up and kowtowed with snot flowing from his nose. Fairy magic pill! The villain is blind, and I am willing to betray Han Xiao as a pill boy. Gu Sheng's eyes were like stars. He scanned the invitation, and his voice shook his soul. My little friend, this situation is dangerous. Han Xiao's business empire is negotiating on the surface, but it is hiding the spirit-devouring array, and the golden pill Qing to sneak attack on the soul of the jade pendant and cauldron. I will draw the fire root from you. I will accompany you to resolve this disaster. With his sleeves flying in the wind, the fire cloud swept towards the center of Jiang Chen. The boy in the square knelt down and kowtowed with a bang like thunder. The fairy is invincible. Crush Han Xiao. In the dark corner in the distance, the rotten stench of Jiang Chen's blood hole rose to the sky. He whispered viciously. Humph, go and die, the Han family is ready. Night fell in the university dormitory, filled with the fragrance of elixirs. Shen Qingqing sat cross-legged to refine spiritual stones. Su Wan kept vigil, and the fire-civic cat roared. Suddenly, the dark wind howled outside the window, and 3 black-clothed assassins burst through the air. The spiritual pressure in the late stage of foundation building was like a knife, and Jiang Chen's family mark flashed, piercing Shen Qingqing's heart. Jiang family order. Destroy the waste wood. Grab the cauldron soul. The cold light of the knife, the omen of blood, hit her nostrils. Su Wan screamed and rushed forward. The fire cat's flaming whip whipped wildly. The assassin smiled ferociously. Kitten is looking for death. He smashed the flame whip with his palm and clawed at Su Wan's shoulder. Blood spattered and the smell of burning was pungent. At the moment of desperation, Shen Qingqing's jade eyes flashed coldly, and the 9-turn black fire cauldron on her waist erupted. A furnace of suppression. Her foundation-building spirit fire surged wildly, her mind boiled. The cauldron soul turned into the shadow of a 100-foot giant cauldron. The lid closed like the sky falling. The sea of red gold flames overturned the dormitory. The heat wave melted the iron bed and the steel juice sizzled. The air burned and ash and snow danced. The 3 assassins stared wide-eyed and screamed. Immortal cauldron to calm the soul. I can't hold it in the later stage of foundation building, and my spiritual roots are burning. One of them knelt down with weak legs, his trousers were soaked, and his voice was trembling. Spare my life. Jiang Chen forced us, he is just a family member. The cauldron flames restrained. Shen Qingqing restrained himself. Standing up, the queen of spiritual pressure crushed her. Be loyal or die. The assassin kowtowed with snot and tears. Allegiance. The devil in the Jiang family, give me a channel. Su Wan bandaged the wound, the fire civet licked the blood, and meowed excitedly. Qingqing invincible. The circle will be stronger. At dawn, the small alchemy circle expanded to 500. And the spiritual mines and spiritual stones were flowing in. Shen Qingqing's reputation spread far and wide across Jiangcheng. Passers-by praised her. Queen of good-for-nothing, assassin of Furnace Town. Han Gu teamed up to crush the rich and powerful. Outside the dormitory, the younger brothers kowtowed in waves, and their blood was boiling. But in a high-rise building in Jiangcheng, Han Xiao smashed the jade table, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Blockade. Use the entire empire's network to cut off the supply of raw materials such as fire ganoderma and flame crystal marrow. Jiang Chen's coalition forces openly declared war. Alchemy circle? Crushed into dust. Black shadow. Kuqing bowed. Yes. Big crisis. Lingbao Pavilion mobilizes. Jindan siege successful. The urban storm is surging, and the bloody storm is coming. Shen Qingqing's jade pendant trembles slightly, smelling the murderous intention. The blood-blooded spirit fire burns in the heart, and prepares to counterattack. The first ray of sunlight at dawn pierced the window screen of the dormitory and fell on the futon where Shen Qingqing was sitting cross-legged. The jade pendant of the 9-turn black fire cauldron was slightly hot against his abdomen. The spiritual energy flowed into the meridians like a warm current. The spiritual pressure in the initial stage of foundation building quietly became thicker. She took a deep breath, and the scent of elixir mixed with the stench of blood and burnt food lingered in the air. The smell of snot and tears from the assassin who knelt down last night still hit her nostrils. The gauze on Su Wan's shoulder was bleeding faintly. The fire civet curled up on her lap, and the orange-blue tail flame licked the wound, purring with satisfaction. A small circle of 500 geniuses were already waiting outside, kowtowing and waiting. The spiritual stones were piled up like a hill, and the green light flickering against their faces made their meridians itch with their spiritual power. Shen Qingqing opened his eyes, waved his jade hand, and thousands of mid-level spiritual stones rolled out of the storage bag, clanking against the tiles, and the blue light bloomed. She grabbed a handful and stuffed it into her mouth, chewing it like chewing candy. The black fire foundation building technique was running. The fire spirit burned the heart. The spiritual power was like a torrent of lava washing through the dantian. The foundation building spiritual pressure buzzed and surged, and the air around her body was twisted and billowing with heat. Su Wan's almond-shaped eyes widened and her voice trembled. Qingqing, a mouthful of 10,000 stones? Is it faintly loose in the middle of the foundation building? Oh my god, this devouring method. Senior Gu's mind is unbelievable. The fire spirit cat's eyes brightened, its claws scratched with excitement, and the orange flame licked the spirit stone residue, hissing and incineration into ashes. The boy outside the door pushed the door open, and a newly loyal high-grade spiritual root male cultivator was holding a jade slip. His face was as white as paper, and his legs were weak and he knelt down. Fairy! A disaster is coming, Han Xiao Lingbao Pavilion announced to the whole school, blocking the channels for rare spiritual materials such as fire ganoderma, flame crystal essence, blood ganoderma, etc. The Jiang Chen family has joined forces to take advantage of all suppliers. 500 of us have no food, qi gathering pills have been cut off, and the circle collapsed. The campus forum exploded, passers-by laughed. The good-for-nothing queen is overacting, the Han Empire gave the order, and the alchemy clown was wiped out. The female cultivator next to her burst into tears, her skirt shaking like chaff. Yes, Jiang Chen openly declared war, leading the remnant party to march in the square shouting. Shen Qingqing grabs the cauldron to destroy the Jiang family. President Han's golden elixir is crushed, and the casual cultivators kneel down to lick it. The hearts of my disciples are floating. Some people have defected to Korea, and the spiritual mind channel is cut off. We are cold. A dark wind suddenly rose in the dormitory, and the pressure was like a huge boulder. 500 boys were whispering outside like poisonous bees. Someone shouted. The magic elixir is powerful, but the raw materials are broken, and the furnace is still running idle. Han Xiao's business network is like Tianluo, the powerful and rich second-generation flying boat seals the road, and the Lingbao Pavilion's golden elixir guests patrol the sky. In the early stages of our foundation building, enter go and draw the spirit root. Despair filled the air, Su Wan's shoulder hurt, and the fire civet growled uneasily. Shen Qingqing's jade tripod pattern scorched her heart. She clenched her fists and blood rolled down from her fingernails. How dare you, a powerful ant, cut off my retreat? Wanner, summon me to defeat you tonight. Su Wan nodded, crushed the spare jade slip, golden light exploded. Gu Sheng's phantom appeared again. The simple figure overturned the dormitory with tsunami spiritual pressure. The stone bricks cracked, and the heat wave evaporated the black mist. The younger brothers stared with bulging eyes and screamed back. Old ancestor Gu is here again. Infinite jade slips? The fairy's trump card is unfathomable. Gu Sheng's eyes were like stars, scanning the crowd and snorted coldly. Little friends, don't panic. I set up a mysterious fire protection array, and refined hundreds of furnaces in the cauldron. Mortal medicine is 10 times better than spiritual materials. Shen Qingqing stood up. The queen's spiritual pressure looked sternly, and the 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron on her waist hummed with a dragon's roar. She took out the ordinary qi-tonifying grass, polygonatum root and other low-grade medicinal materials in the storage bag, and piled them into a small mound. The smell of earth mixed with the smell of blood in the dormitory. Night fell suddenly, and the dormitory turned into a temporary alchemy room. Shen Qingqing sat cross-legged in front of the shadow of the giant cauldron, kneading the secrets with his jade hands, and the fire in his heart surged. Hot blood heats. The mysterious fire builds the foundation, burns the sky and boils the earth. Boom! The cauldron's body erupted in a sea of red gold flames. A 30-foot pillar of fire soared into the sky. The heat wave melted the iron windows and steel juice dripped. The air burned into flying ash and snow, and the sniffing nose was like fire. Su Wan's fire cat jumped up to the bottom of the cauldron. Orange and blue spiritual flames licked violently. Its flame tongue was like 1,000 pythons entwined. The cauldron walls were melting red. Gu Sheng waved his sleeves and robes, and the tsunami spiritual array protected the law, and the sword energy was like a net to block the pill thunder. 3 powerful combinations, a batch of qi replenishing magic pills. The mortal medicine was thrown into the furnace, and instantly boiled. The aroma of the pills surged like spicy wine mixed with clear nectar. The meridians of those who heard it itched wildly, and spiritual power surged. The younger brothers squeezed through the cracks in the door to peek, their expressions turning from despair to horror. A tall, thin man with slender legs supported the wall, his voice trembling like a candle in the wind. Refining divine pills with ordinary medicine? The cauldron is soaring to the sky, and the cost is 10 times higher than the spiritual materials. A furnace with 10 top-grade chitonifying pills. Pure spiritual power is the best in the market. The price is 100 times higher. The female cultivator wiped her eyes wildly and screamed in admiration. The fire spirit cat is violently assisting. The ancestor Gu's sword array is protecting the thunder. The fairy is passionate and passionate. What a joke! The magic pill collapsed and the Jiang Chen elixir exploded. Hundreds of golden elixirs popped out, crystal clear and bright, and the fragrance hit their nostrils. The 500 brothers knelt down and kowtowed, and the bang was like thunder. The fairy is invincible. 100 furnaces in one night. The elixir empire rises. At dawn there was a grand alchemy ceremony in Jiang Chen University Square. On the fire cloud tray, Shen Qingqing stood on the high platform. The queen hunted in jade robes, the 9-turn black fire cauldron suspended above her head. The red gold dragon pattern hovered, and the spiritual pressure crushed the tens of thousands of people in the audience. Su Wan's fire cat stands cross-legged. Orange flames surround her body like a fire phoenix, and Gu Sheng's phantom tsunami guards the surroundings. The younger brother was selling the magic pill. Each pill only costs 1 low-level spirit stone. The price collapsed like an avalanche. Passers-by rushed to buy it and screamed, "Chi-boosting magic pill!" 1 pill of the most powerful one. The meridians surged and the foundation was loosened. The Korean blockade failed. Shen Qingqing the fairy dismantled the empire network. A rich second-generation dignitary arrived in a flying boat. His face was ashen, and his trousers were wet, and he trembled. The original price was 1,000 dan, but now it is 1 dan? The whole school was in turmoil. Han Xiao Lingbao Pavilion's announcement was invalidated. Suppliers defected and offered channels. Jiang Chen led the remnants of the party to parade in the square, but saw the magic pills being dumped like rain. His body was staggering with rotting blood, and his resentful eyes turned to fear. Shen Qingqing, the magic pill of ordinary medicine? 30% of the secrets of the cauldron have been discovered. How can the quantity be so high? The remnants of the party knelt down with weak legs. Someone's nose was dripping with tears. Young Master Chan, just vote. The fairy has unified the campus, and the Korean alliance can't hold it back. Jiang Chen gritted his teeth and finally threw himself on the kneeling platform, bloody and kowtowed, his voice broken like broken glass. Fairy Shen! Jiang Chen is blind. All the ghosts in the family have given up, begged for mercy and switched to the alchemy way. The tripod soul is invincible, crushing everything. Thousands of people in the square stared wide-eyed and screamed loudly. Genius Jiang Chen has knelt down. The good-for-nothing queen has collected the remnants of the empire. The alchemy sect has been established, and thousands of disciples are loyal to her. Shen Qingqing sneered, waved his jade hand, and the magic elixir was sprinkled into Jiang Chen's mouth. Bang! The golden mist filled the air, and his rotten blood hole instantly healed, and his white flesh regenerated. He stood up and roared, Fairy is so kind. Jiang family donated all the spiritual mines, betrayed Han Xiao. Thousands of geniuses flocked to worship. Spiritual stones and spiritual materials came in like a tide. And the alchemy sect unified the campus cultivation circle. Fire clouds soared into the sky. Alchemy thunder roared. The fragrance mixed with blood evaporated. Passers-by worshipped like a sea. Shen Qingqing's invincible posture. Luzhen campus, powerful ants. Under the high platform, Gu Sheng whispered before his shadow faded away. Little friend, what goes up must come down. Han Xiaojinden's siege bureau mobilized, the big family alliance gathered, and the core conspiracy of the spiritual energy explosion emerged. The source of the spiritual veins changed. It was not a natural disaster. It's a man-made disaster. Shen Qingqing's jade cauldron soul trembled slightly, smelling the blood of death, and the hot-blooded spiritual fire burned his heart. His eyes swept towards the high-rise buildings in Jiang Chen, and Han Xiao's figure loomed, surrounded by black shadows and guests, and the golden elixir spiritual pressure was like a mountain. Outside the square, the dark wind howled. The coalition forces flew boats to cover the sky. Murderous intent surged, and the war was about to break out. The waves of worship from thousands of people in the square receded like a tide, and the cold wind at dawn stirred up dust, mixed with the aftertaste of blood and elixir, pungent as if rotten fruit had fermented. Shen Qingqing hunted in a jade robe, standing high on a high platform of fire clouds, with a 9-turn black fire cauldron suspended above his head. The red-gold dragon pattern slowly converged, and his spiritual pressure was like a mountain. The remaining power made the disciples' knees weak, and cold sweat rolled down their foreheads like beads. The gauze on Su Wan's shoulders faintly oozed bright red. The fire civet crouched on its knees and moaned softly, and the orange-blue tail flame was dim, as if she could smell the cold murderous aura permeating the air. Jiang Chen knelt down on the stage. His face was pale and twisted after his flesh and blood had been regenerated. His teeth were chattering, and his voice was like a leaf in the wind. Fairy. The coalition's flying boats have covered the sky. Han Xiao is personally in charge of the golden elixir in the middle stage, and the black shadow guest ministers are around like ghosts. At least 20 golden elixirs are crushing them. The foundation building sect cannot bear it. There was a deafening buzz in the distant sky, and dozens of black iron flying boats tore through the clouds. The boats were engraved with blood-red runes, and their spiritual power poured out like ink, blocking the morning light. The square fell into shadow and black clouds pressed down on top. There are many figures of Jindan kaching on the boat. The sword light is as cold as frost and snow, and the murderous intention is like an invisible giant hand strangling the throat. Passers-by scream and scatter. The stamping sounds are mixed with cries, and the bloody premonition hits the face. The disciples' faces were pale, and some of them were weak on the ground, with snot and tears streaming down their cheeks. Allied forces of the Han Empire. The golden elixir surrounded and killed us. The dream of campus unification was shattered. There are 1,000 of us, and our spiritual roots have been drained and become useless. The female disciple's skirt was soaked, and she sobbed tremblingly. Although the magical elixir is strong, the black market for its raw materials is cut off. Han Xiao's underground chain is like a sky. Not a single grain of spiritual material can enter, and the sect is hungry and thirsty. Shen Qingqing narrowed her eyes slightly. Her jade cauldron soul was burning and her heart was racing, and the hot-blooded spiritual fire was faintly burning her dantian. She clenched her fists, her knuckles turned white, suppressed her anger and said coldly, "Wanna take the fire civet cat, sneak into the black market of Jiangchen, and explore Han Xiao's underground chain. Jiang Chen, offer the secret map of the family was revealed, and all the spiritual materials were marked in secret." The disciples stayed in the square, prepared all the medicines, and continued to refine the cauldron. Su Wan's almond-shaped eyes flashed with determination, and she nodded and stood up. The fire cat jumped on her shoulders, and with a flash of orange flame, the two of them turned into fire and fled out of the square, disappearing into the morning mist. Jiang Chen stood up and kowtowed and handed over the jade slip, his hands shaking like a sieve. "Fairy, the family's black market line is all here. 30% of the channels are available for free." Han Xiao coveted the cauldron to refine the blood-soul forbidden elixir, and swallowed the spiritual root to build the peak of the golden elixir. The shadow of the flying boat made the air in the square stagnant. The disciples' whispers were like the hissing of poisonous snakes. Someone shouted, 20 golden elixirs, 1,000 people building a foundation are like ants. Han Xiao Noble Network, urban casual cultivators have been kneeling and licking us for expansion? What a joke, survived this morning first. Shen Qingqing sat on the high platform, using the mysterious fire foundation building technique, and the fire in his heart slowly burned his meridians like lava. He swallowed 3 chi-replenishing magic pills, and his spiritual power was buzzing and thick. The foundation building's spiritual pressure in the middle of loosening was faintly rising. The heat wave around him distorted the air and burned the mist into gray snow. But her face was livid, and she sensed the danger of extinction, and the cauldron's soul sounded a low warning, like rolling thunder. At noon in the deep alley of the black market, Su Wan disappears into the shadows. The fire cat's eyes are like a will-o'-the-wisp, and the orange flames converge into threads. The alley was full of blood, mixed with the stench of rotting spiritual materials. The underground auction house was dimly lit. Rich second-generation dignitaries were whispering about transactions, and figures in black robes were selling blood Ganoderma lucidum and flame crystal marrow at astronomical prices. Su Wan's ears tipped to catch Han Xiao's sneer. The master set up a trap to lure the bitch into sinking by pretending to auction the flame spirit fruit. The black market killers came out, the tripod fell into the bag. The forbidden elixir was refined, and the golden elixir army swept across Jiang Chen. Another fat businessman echoed in a trembling voice. Jiang Chen's remnant party has already thrown. The inner ghost presents the cauldron's weakness. The furnace needs to be heated by heart fire. Kill Su Wan and cut off the assistant. Shen Qingqing can't stand alone. The fire cat roared, scratching the ground with sparks. Su Wan's eyes widened. Her heart felt like falling into an ice cave. She crushed the jade slip and escaped back to the sect with a burst of golden light. At dusk, the fire cloud in the square dimmed. The flying boat hovered like a vulture, and the spiritual pressure was like a hammer hitting the heart. The disciples' faces were sallow, and their meridians were withered. Some people vomited blood and fell to the ground. The spiritual market is paralyzed. The black market is short of food. Han Xiao fake auction? Trap. Su Wan fell to the ground in flames. Her shoulder injury burst and blood flowed. Her voice was rapid and trembling. Qingqing. Han Xiao controlled the whole chain, coveted the cauldron to refine the blood soul forbidden pill, faked the auction of flame spirit fruit, and Jiang Chen's remnant gang colluded with the inner ghosts. The 20 golden elixir killers attacked tonight. Jiang Chen's face turned pale when he heard this, and he knelt down with blood pouring from his nose. Fairy, I didn't know that the family secret map was fake, and the Korean Alliance army has infiltrated. The night is like ink pouring down, and the murderous intention is soaring. Fires shot up in the direction of the black market. A fake auction broke out, and dozens of shadow killers came to kill with swords. The golden elixir spiritual pressure was like a tsunami, overturning the square. The sword energy was like thousands of arrows, tearing the air with a hissing sound, and the stone bricks exploded and blood mist filled the air. The disciples screamed and fell back. Someone's spiritual roots were pulled out, and they howled like ghosts. Golden elixir attack. The sect is over. Shen Qingqing jumped up. The queen's spiritual pressure exploded. The giant shadow of the 9-turn black fire cauldron suddenly covered the field. The fire dragon circled and roared. The sea of red gold flames burned the sword energy. The heat wave evaporated the blood mist, and the nose was on fire. But the golden elixir killer smiled ferociously and hunted in black robes. The weakness of the cauldron is known, and the fire in the heart burns alone without help, and it will dry up. The sword net surrounded him, and the spiritual pressure crushed Shen Qingqing's meridians to an inch. Blood spurted out of his throat, and he staggered back, and the heat wave dimmed his whole body. Neutral forces flocked to pledge their allegiance, offering spiritual mind channels and tens of thousands of spiritual stones. The number of people in the alchemy circle surged by 300. Han Xiao retreated, his face as gloomy as dead water. Today is a small setback. Shen Qingqing, you have discovered 30% of the secret of the cauldron. Come back and fight again. Shen Qingqing looked sternly and the queen sneered. Get out of here, ants. I am the only one who is the master of cultivation in the city. The 3 of them left the pavilion, and the fire clouds swept through the sky, and their reputation was like wildfire burning the river city. Passers-by heard the wind and worshipped. Fairy Shun crushed Han Xiao. Ancestor Gu escorted me, my alchemy is invincible. Shen Qingqing's blood boiled, and he kneaded the secret with his jade hands. Spiritual fire burns the sky, and the flying sword destroys the enemy. Boom! The cauldron soul fire dragon danced wildly. 10 red gold flying swords sprang out. The sea of flames rolled around the sword body, hissing, tearing the golden elixir's body-protecting aura, and piercing the killer's eyebrows. The first killer's eyes widened, his pupils shrank into needle gleams, and his voice broke. Flying sword technique? How can Foundation establishment know the secret technique of golden elixir? The sword gleam penetrated the brain, and the blood brain exploded like watermelon mud, and the smell of burnt blood filled the air. The second and third assassins retreated and blocked their swords in panic, but their arms were incinerated by the fire swords. They screamed miserably. The tripod fire swords merge into one. Old monster Gu Sheng is behind. The disciples turned from despair to horror. The tall and lanky male cultivator supported the wall and screamed, "Fairy reversed! Kill the golden elixir with one sword, and burn the soul with the flying sword." The female disciple wiped her tears wildly and knelt down in worship. The 10 swords were fired in unison, and Killer Han was reduced to ashes. The rain of swords is like a rain of fire, for blood burst out from the center of Wujindan's brows, and the corpses were burned into ashes and fluttering snow. The remaining people's faces turned pale, and they fled in the boat. Information is wrong. The tripod soul flying sword has no solution. Retreat. Shen Qingqing pursued with swords, and 6 fire swords penetrated the bottom of the boat. The explosion roared like thunder, and fragments fell like rain-scorched flesh. 10 Jindan were killed, and the blood river converged into the square, and the stench filled the sky. Su Wan gasped and held her knees, while the fire civet licked its paws and purred excitedly. The flying sword of Qingqing defies the sky. The golden elixir is like a dog. Jiang Chen got up and roared. The ghosts in the remnant party are exposed. I will kill the traitors myself. After searching the corpses and jade slips, the information came to light. Han Xiao colluded with Jiang Chen's remnant party. The source of the spiritual vein was a man-made disaster, and the forbidden elixir army was gathering momentum. At dawn, the sect expanded into the urban area. Casual cultivators flocked to worship, and there was a flood of spiritual stones and spiritual materials. Thousands of disciples worshipped with eyes wide open. The fairy first battled 10 golden elixirs, and the alchemy empire city swept across. The black market suppliers switched sides, all channels were opened, ordinary medicines piled up, and the cauldron flames rekindled a batch of magical elixirs. But before Gu Sheng's shadow faded away, he whispered, Han Xiao has used his ultimate killing weapon. The spirit beast army is pressing down on the territory, and Su Wan's contract beast is in danger deep in the black market. The distant sky beast's roar shook the sky. 100 golden elixir spirit beasts covered the sky, and the fierce eyes were blood-red, killing angry like a tsunami. Su Wan's jade slip broke into pieces and asked for help. Qingqing. The fire spirit cat is hiding, the contract is broken. I can't hold on. The dark wind in the square rose again. The black clouds pressed even harder, the bloody light flickered, and the disaster was approaching. In the Jiangchen University Square at dawn, the river of blood has not yet dried up, and the stench of burnt flesh lingers in the nostrils like a rotten corpse. The heat wave of tens of thousands of disciples and casual cultivators kneeling down to worship is still there, but they are suddenly torn into pieces by the distant beast's roar. Black clouds surged like boiling ink, covering the early sun, and an army of hundreds of golden elixir beasts pressed down from the sky. Their fierce eyes were as red as lava, and their wingspan covered the sky. Their claws shone with cold light. A fishy wind blew against their faces, mixed with animal dung and blood. The stone tiles on the ground cracked and cracked. The spiritual pressure was like the eruption of 10,000 volcanoes, which made the disciples' chests hurt and their eardrums buzz to the point of bursting. Legion of spirit beasts. Han Xiao's ultimate killing weapon. 100-headed golden elixir realm, building a foundation like an insect. The tall and thin male cultivator stared with bulging eyes, nosebleeds dripping down his lips, His legs were soft and he knelt down, his voice trembling like a candle in the wind. The first battle of 10 golden elixirs is desperate. The sect is in ashes. The female disciple next to her was wet with her skirt, and screamed with tears in her eyes. Fairy Su's black market for help is cut off, the fire spirit cat is dead. The dream of our alchemy empire is shattered. The Han Empire's network of dignitaries, and the casual cultivators in the urban areas are licking each other. The fairy alone can't handle it. The whispers were like a group of poisonous snakes hissing, and in a blink of an eye they turned into desperate wails. Some people's meridians surged, black blood spurted from the mouth, and they fell to the ground twitching. The air was filled with the sour smell of broken spiritual roots. Jiang Chen's face turned sallow, his fists smashed against the gravel on the ground, and his teeth were bleeding. The ghost! The remnants of the party are hiding. The intelligence was leaked last night, and the spirit beast targeted the black market fairy Su. His eyes scanned the crowd and locked onto the 3 disciples who looked grim. Bai backed away, his spiritual energy as violent as a trapped animal. Young Master Jiang, spare your life. Lord Han promised the golden elixir fruit Before he finished speaking, Jiang Chen's Fei Jianju erupted. 3 streaks of red light penetrated his brain. The blood and brain spattered like a rotten melon. The smell of burnt smell hit his nostrils, and the 3 corpses burned into ashes of snow. The disciples gasped and widened their eyes. Jiang Tian killed the traitor himself. The traitor was wiped out. Jiang Chen knelt down and kowtowed, his forehead stained with blood, and his voice was hoarse and enthusiastic. Fairy, the traitor is liquidated, the family secret map is completed, the black market is fully opened, the source of the spiritual veins is exposed, and the man-made disaster is exposed. Han Xiao extracts the source of spiritual energy, refines the blood and soul-forbidden elixir to build an army. Shen Qingqing sat cross-legged on a high platform, with the 9-turn black fire cauldron suspended above his head. The red-gold dragon pattern sounded a low warning, and the fire in his heart was like lava boiling in his dantian, burning his meridians and making a hissing sound. She squeezed Su Wan's broken jade slip tightly with her jade hands. Cold murderous intent flashed in her almond eyes, and her mind was like lightning. 100 spiritual beasts, the golden elixir is at its peak, black market traps cut off support. The cauldron heart fire will be exhausted if burned alone. The 10 golden elixirs have consumed 70% of their spiritual power. Rush in? 10,000 people in the sect become cannon fodder? Stick to it? Is Su Wan's best friend waiting to die in blood? Han Xiao's network of powerful people is like a sky, and the spiritual materials of the business empire are locked up. The long-term pain is not as good as the short-term pain. Give it a try and refine the war elixir to reverse the situation. Her heartbeat was like a war drum, and she suppressed fear. Gu Sheng's shadow whispered in her mind. Behind Han Xiao, the remnant veins of the ancient demon sect controlled the source of the spiritual energy explosion, extracting the earth veins to refine the forbidden elixir. Jiangqing is just the tip of the iceberg. My friend, the cauldron soul can refine the beast-devouring elixir, feed the beast to self-destruct, and cut off its arms. Before Gu Sheng's figure faded away, approval flashed in Xinghe's eyes. Senior Gu Tianen, Shen Qingqing murmured. The hot-blooded spiritual fire surged, and the bottleneck loosened in the middle stage of foundation building. The spiritual pressure erupted like a volcano. The heat wave around him distorted the air, and the burning mist turned into gray snow. The disciples stared up and raised their heads. The tall and thin male cultivator had snot and tears streaming down his face. The fairy's spiritual pressure has increased again. The peak in the midterm? The inner ghost has been killed, so fight back, she said in a cold voice. Jiang Chen, lead the crowd to stick to the square, and pile up the mountains of ordinary medicine to refine it. Spring pill protects the sect. The black market is open. I will save Wanner alone, and the beast army will be wiped out. Jiang Chen roared and kowtowed. Yes, the sect will never be extinguished. Everyone roared in unison. Their morale was like a prairie fire, but they were trembling with fear. Shen Qingqing was hunting in her jade robe, and the 9-turn mystic fire cauldron suddenly shrank into her body, turning into a burning fire in her heart. She stepped on the cloud of fire and rushed straight into the deep alleys of the black market. The wind roared in her ears like a ghost crying. The spirit beast army roared fiercely, and the shadows of their claws fell down like mountains, tearing the building apart like a rain of rubble. Her thoughts flashed. The beasts locked on the weakness of Su Wan's contract. First cut off the fire civet, and then swallow the cauldron. Han Xiao is very resourceful, and the layout is like a chess game, so he must outsmart him. The entrance to the black market was filled with flames, the smell of blood mixed with animal excrement. The underground auction house collapsed, and among the ruins Su Wan's jade robe was stained with blood. Her shoulder injury cracked like a spring. The fire civet's orange flame dimmed and curled up on the ground. The golden light of the contract was broken, and she gasped like silk. Qing! Qing! The gold of the beast king at the peak of the elixir. Swallow my spiritual root. 20 golden elixir spirit beasts were surrounded by tigers, leopards, wolves and pythons, and poisonous mist was spitting and corroding the stone bricks. The king of beasts was a red fire ape with eyes like a blood moon. His giant claws hit the ground and shook the ground. The spiritual pressure crushed Su Wan's knees to the ground, and the blood dyed the blue bricks red. Su Wan's almond-shaped eyes were desperate. She gritted her teeth and pinched the magic weapon. The remaining flames whipped, and the fur of the wolf beast was burnt black. However, she was slapped away by the giant palm of the fire ape. When it hit the wall, blood spurted out, and the sound of cracking bones was harsh. I can't hold on. The fire cat crawled up with a low cry, claws scratching and sparks flying. However, the protector was entangled by the python's tail. Its scales grinded against the bones and creaked, and orange flames struggled to burn the sky. The black-robed Qingqing sneered from behind. Master Shen Qingqing is here? The beast king swallowed the beast and made a contract, and Su Bich's spiritual roots were drained. The spirit beasts roared, the fishy wind swept across, the claws and claws fell, and the bloody and fleshy foreboding hit his face. Shen Qingqing's fire cloud fell to the ground. The queen's spiritual pressure exploded. The heat wave evaporated the poisonous mist, and the white smoke rose. Han Xiao aunt, how dare you touch my sister? Her heart was furious and the psychological game was like lightning. The cauldron was hanging in the air to expose its weaknesses, and burning alone risked a narrow escape. The jade hands made a secret, and the 9-turn black fire cauldron suddenly hung in the air. The red gold dragon pattern danced wildly. The sea of flames at the mouth of the cauldron boiled, absorbing the surrounding animal blood aura, and boiled like a lava pot. The disciple watched the shadow on the jade slip from a distance and widened his eyes. Fairy rushes to the black market. Ding Xuankong's heart is heated, and he can fight hundreds of beasts alone. Jiang Chen punched his chest. Guardian of the cauldron soul, the secret technique of beast-eating pills, the nemesis of the ancient demon sect. The spirit beast swarmed, tiger claws tore through the air. Shen Qingqing activated his flying sword skills. 10 red gold fire swords sprang out. The swords burned their claws and broken bones. The stench of burnt flesh filled the air. The first wolf beast's eyebrows burst with blood, and its corpse was burned with ashes and snow flying. The beast king fire ape roared, smashed the cauldron with his huge fist. His spiritual pressure was like a mountain collapse. The cauldron's shadow cracked and cracked. Her meridians were severed, blood spurted from her throat. She staggered back. The premonition of depleted heart fire was like an ice needle piercing her heart. Hold on. Gu Sheng's secret words echoed in her mind. The soul of the cauldron devours blood, and the battle elixir is completed. She swallowed 3 rejuvenation pills, and her spiritual power surged. She pointed at the mouth of the cauldron with her jade finger, and the spiritual fire licked it like a dragon's tongue. Beast-devouring pill refining. Thunder rumbled in the cauldron, 9-turn golden light burst out. Hundreds of scarlet war pills spurted out, like a rain of fire. The fragrance of the pills lured the beasts into madness. The spirit beasts devoured it like hungry ghosts. Tigers, leopards, wolves and pythons pounced with red eyes. Gulu swallowed the pills into his belly. His abdomen suddenly bulged like a ball. His fur split and blood mist spurted out. The wolf howled miserably and rolled to the ground. Its internal organs exploded like mud, and the stench filled the sky. The python's body twisted, its scales exploded, and rivers of blood flowed. The black-robed Qingqing's eyes widened and his voice broke. Beast-eating pill? An ancient forbidden technique. Feed the beast to self-destruct. There is no such information. He retreated with his sword, but was pierced by the fire sword in the chest, and the blood brain exploded and the scorched smell spread everywhere. Su Wan took advantage of the chaos and got up. Her almond-shaped eyes flashed with ecstasy. Qingqing Shundan defies heaven. The beasts eat themselves. After the contract of the fire civet was broken, the orange flame weakly protected the master. Su Wan's hands were stained with blood. She crushed the scales of the beast king, and the spiritual blood flowed back into her body. New contract promise: Fire Ape King surrender. The beast king Fire Ape swallowed pills. His abdomen was bloated, and he wanted to swallow Su Wan, but the erysipelas burned his heart. His huge eyes shrank with fear. He knelt down and roared. The golden light of the contract was heavily bound. The orange flames and blue fire merged with red gold, and the spiritual pressure surged to the peak of the golden pill. Su Wan laughed wildly and stood up. The claws of the Fire Ape King tore apart the remaining beasts. The bones were shattered like thunder, and flesh and blood flew everywhere. The 20 golden elixir beasts were wiped out, and the sea of blood in the black market was steaming with heat. Shen Qingqing's cauldron soul returned to his body. His heart was dim. His meridians were shriveled and weak. Su Wan supported him. The Fire Ape King lowered his head and muttered, "Best friends join forces, we are invincible." The remaining power of the distant spirit beast army collapsed. Hundreds of autophagic pills exploded. Corpses rained down with scorched hair and blood clots, and the stench was like hell. Yu Jian, a disciple in the square, watched the battle. His despair turned to horror. The lanky male cultivator wiped his tears wildly and knelt down with a scream. The fairy refined the beast to devour the elixir, and the 100 gold elixir exploded. Fairy Su made the beast king, and the black market turned around. The female disciple worshipped and kowtowed. Queen of Alchemy, Korean dignitaries are like dogs. The sect was reborn from the ashes, and the urban empire was invincible. Rogue cultivators swarmed, black market suppliers turned against them, spiritual materials poured in like a tide, and the mountains of ordinary medicines were piled higher. The black mist of despair filled the air, and the disciples' eyes were bulging, and their legs were as weak as mud. The fairy is no match. 10 people from Jindan surrounded and killed him, and the cauldron's phantom was cracked. Su Wan's fire civet roared for assistance, and the orange flame whipped the killer. Gu Sheng's shadow suddenly appeared, protecting the law with tsunami sword energy, and the stone bricks were shattered. His eyes were like stars and he snorted coldly. "Little friend, take the flying sword technique from me." The jade slip merged into Shen Qingqing's sea of consciousness. His mind was like lightning. The mysterious fire foundation merged with the flying sword, and the sword light exploded from the spiritual fire. Jiang Chen led the crowd to clean up the remaining ghosts, hunted with blood flags and roared. The reputation of the fairy spreads to the city. The remaining veins of Han Xiao demon sect are exposed. The source of the spiritual energy is a man-made disaster. Gu Sheng's shadow reappeared, whispering to Shen Qingqing, "Little friend, the source is here at the core of Jiangqing's territory. Han Xiao is taking action, and the decisive battle is about to begin." Shen Qingqing's eyes were as bright as a sword, and her blood was burning again. She smelled a greater conspiracy and she clenched her jade fist. "Han Xiao, come on. I am the only one in the world." The morning light was like blood, spilling on the river of blood in Jiangcheng University Square, steaming up fishy hot mist, and the putrid odor mixed with burnt hair and blood clots went straight into the nose. The waves of worship from thousands of disciples suddenly stopped and turned into deathly gasps. The spiritual pressure from the distance swept over like a tsunami thousands of miles away. The roar was deafening. A dark crack opened in the sky. Han Xiao's figure stepped out of the void. The spiritual pressure at the middle stage of the golden core was like a black hole swallowing up the light. The magic patterns around his body flashed with blood. With a wave of his robe sleeves, more than 30 remnants of the golden core spirit beasts roared and jumped out from behind. Their wing claws ripped through the wind. The stone bricks on the ground cracked inch by inch. Debris flew like projectiles, leaving blood streaks on the disciples' cheeks. "Shen Qingqing, how dare you ruin my blood soul plan?" Han Xiao's voice sounded like thunder, and his eyes were as murderous as knives. He swept across the square with thousands of people and smiled contemptuously. "Jiangcheng Cultivation Summit, the 3 major families of our alliance, the Lin family, the Zhao family, and the Qian family, and hundreds of foundation-building geniuses have arrived. The remnants of the spirit beasts are overwhelming, and your alchemy insect swarm will be wiped out. After the words were spoken, the void twisted in all directions: southeast, northwest and northwest. The flag hunting of the three families unfolded. The Lin family patriarch's golden elixir burst out in the early stage of spiritual pressure, and led 50 foundation-building sword cultivators to control swords like clouds. The swords were dazzling with cold light and humming like a swarm of bees. The combined forces' spiritual pressure hit the ground. The knees of all the foundation-building disciples sank into the ground, their meridians surged, and blood spurted out of their mouths and noses. The tall and thin male cultivator stared with bulging eyes, and his voice was as broken as glass. Han Emperor is here in person. The three major families will join forces to kill each other at the summit, and crush them in the middle stage of the golden elixir. The fire in the fairy's heart has dried up, and the sect is finished. The female disciple's skirt was soaked, and she screamed and hugged her head. The black market has just reversed, and the power of the spirit beast's self-destruction has not dissipated. The powerful nets the sky. The casual cultivators kneel down and have no hope, and the dream of the alchemy empire is shattered into ashes. Jiang Chen's face turned livid, his fist hit his chest, and the veins on his forehead jumped. Demon Han, the family secrets have been patched up. The source of the spiritual veins has been exposed. You drew the earth veins to refine the forbidden elixir and caused great harm to the world. He roared and turned to Shen Qingqing, knelt down and kowtowed at the bloodstains ban. Fairy, the Jiang family's secret treasure blood soul chain came out, locked the golden elixir spirit beast, and vowed to protect the cauldron to the death. Shen Qingqing's meridians were shriveled, and the fire in his heart was as dim as a candle. Sweat beads rolled down his pale face. He smelled the bloody air of the coalition forces approaching. Gu Sheng whispered in his mind with strong pressure and weakness. His almond-shaped eyes were cold. Han Xiao is an ant, powerful as a dog. Today's summit, Shen Qingqing, reached the top of the alchemy path. Su Wan's shoulder injury stopped bleeding. The Fire Ape King roared to protect the Lord, surrounded by orange flames, blue fire and red gold, but fatigue flashed in his eyes. Qingqing, there are 300 coalition forces. The spiritual pressure tsunami, I, the Beast King, cannot bear it alone. The disciples in the square wailed in despair. Some people's spiritual roots were broken. The corpses were twitching and the rotting stench filled the air, and the air was as heavy as a tomb. Han Xiao laughed ferociously, and shot out his demonic palm. The black mist turned into hundreds of chains of blood souls, and wrapped around the 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron. The innocent souls on the chains screamed and screamed, and the spiritual pressure crushed the cauldron shadow. There was a downpour of sneers, tearing apart the array of disciples, flesh and blood flying across the sky and a scorching smell filling their nostrils, and more than a dozen people fell to the ground with blood bursting from their brows. The Zhao family's poison pill exploded, green mist engulfed the front row, the disciples' skin melted and creaked, and they screamed like ghosts. Qian's spiritual cannon roared, and the first cannon smashed the edge of the high platform. The tall and thin man crawled on weak legs and screamed with tears in his nose. Fairy pours blood. The cauldron cracks to lock the soul. The three alliances slaughter the clan. Han Emperor is invincible. Jiang Chen gritted his teeth and pinched the family jade talisman, and the blood soul chain backfired on Han Xiao, but he was crushed by the devil's palm. The shot caused him to spurt blood and fly backwards, and his bones were broken when he hit the ground. Fairy! The secret treasure is broken, can't protect it. Despair flooded the entire venue like a black tide. Thousands of people knelt down and trembled, and the sound of worship turned into howls. Han Xiao stood proudly in the void, with a powerful aura that despised the common people. Shen Qingqing, hand over the cauldron, spare your life. Jiangcheng's summit. I am the overlord. Just as he was about to close the net, he suddenly heard Su Wan roaring. Fire Ape King evolve. Violent. The Fire Ape King swallowed Shen Qingqing and threw out the rejuvenation pill. A sea of red gold flames surged in his belly. The golden light of the contracts surged, and his body expanded 3 feet. His hair was like steel needles, and his eyes were as red as lava. He roared to the sky, and with a sweep of his giant claws, he tore apart the remaining 10 spirit beasts. Their flesh and blood exploded like rotten melons, and the smelly blood mist filled the air. The disciples' eyes widened, and the lanky male cultivator's nose ran wildly. Xian Su evolved into the Beast King. The golden elixir is at its peak, and the coalition is in chaos. Elder Zhao's face turned pale, and his voice trembled. Impossible, the contract fusion is against the heavens. Shen Qingqing bit her lip with blood and swallowed 3 high-quality chitonifying pills. Her spiritual power surged, her meridians healed, and her heart was rekindled like a volcano. Gu Sheng's phantom suddenly appeared, hunting in white robes on the high platform, and the spiritual pressure at the peak of the Foundation establishment poured out like a galaxy. Little friend, the 3 generals join forces, and the hidden magical powers of the poor Taoist will be fully revealed. With his fingertips, the void split open, and hundreds of starlight sword energy burst out, buzzing and piercing through the Lin family's sword cultivation array. The disciples gasped, and the female disciple kowtowed in ecstasy with tears in her eyes. Senior Gu's magical power. The galaxy sword chi slaughtered the genius, and the coalition collapsed. Han Xiao's eyes shrank and the devil's palm struck Gu Sheng, but was backfired by the starlight, and the sleeves of his robe were burned to pieces. Shen Qingqing's blood boiled, the queen's spiritual pressure exploded. The 9-turn black fire cauldron suddenly hung in the air. The cauldron was surrounded by 9 fires. The red, gold, blue and orange flame dragon danced wildly. The heat wave distorted the void, and the sky burned with thunder and roar. She pressed her jade hand on the heart of the cauldron, pouring hot blood and spiritual fire. The sea of flames at the mouth of the cauldron churned, absorbing the alliance's blood mist spiritual energy. It boiled like a lava pot, and the fragrance of elixir exploded, sweet and tangy, mixed with bloody souls. Explosive spirit pill, heat with hot blood refine. The thunder calamity in the cauldron exploded, and the 9-turn golden light shot into the sky. Thousands of purple gold explosive spirit pills spurted out, like a rain of meteors and fire, and the elixir pattern flashed at the peak of spiritual pressure. Gu Sheng shouted, "Feed the pill to kill the enemy." Shen Qingqing activated the Fei Jianju, and 10 red gold fire swords wrapped in pills were shot out, piercing the eyebrows of the coalition's foundation-building genius. The stomach of the guru swallowing pill exploded, and the spiritual power surged, and the meridians swelled and clicked, but the erysipelas was reversed, and the self-explosion blood mist bloomed like a flower. After the Lin family sword cultivator swallowed the pill, his eyes were red and furious. The sword energy backfired on his fellow sect, and rivers of broken bones and blood flowed together. The head of the family stared with bulging eyes. Exploding spiritual pill? Self-destruction magic? There is no such information. The giant sword penetrated the chest, and the blood brain exploded and the smell filled the sky. The Zhao family's poisonous alchemy master's abdomen swelled like a ball, green mist spewed from the inside, corroding the camp, and his skin melted and screamed miserably. The Qian spiritual gunner's pill-swallowing gun barrel self-destructed. The fire engulfed half the team, and the stench of burnt flesh filled the air. Half of the 300 people in the coalition army disappeared into the blood mist. Corpses rained down, mixed with severed limbs and internal organs. The sea of blood in the square was steaming with heat. The disciples turned from despair to fear. The tall and thin male cultivator knelt down and kowtowed wildly. The fairy's 9 fire cauldron ring. The hot blood refines the explosive elixir. Half of the coalition army committed suicide. And the magic skills are unbelievable. Jiang Chen got up, recovered from his injuries and roared. Although Zhang's secret treasure is broken, the fairy is invincible, and the Korean demon is ashes. Su Wan, the fire ape king, charged wildly, smashing the elders of the Zhao family with his huge claws, bones cracking like thunder, and flesh and blood flying everywhere. With the assistance of the fire civet orange flame, he burned Qian's remaining cannon and black smoke rose. Gu Sheng's sword energy was like a net, locking onto the remnant army of Han Xiao's spirit beasts, and the sword light penetrated his head and the gray snow danced. Han Xiao's demon pattern cracked, the blood soul chain was broken. The sword wound on his chest was so deep that the bones were visible. The blood was like a spring. The spiritual pressure collapsed. He staggered back. His voice was hoarse and frightened. Shen Qingqing, the 9 fires of the cauldron soul, I remember it. He tore through the void and escaped, and the black mist dissipated, leaving behind a stinking blood stain on the ground. The dead silence in the summit square turned into a carnival. The remaining coalition geniuses knelt down and surrendered, with sallow and trembling faces. Fairy Shen, spare your life. Queen of Alchemy, crush the geniuses, we are blind. The corpses of the heads of the Lin family, the Zhao family, and the Qian family were burned to ashes, the network of nobles collapsed, and the casual cultivators flocked to worship, and the spiritual materials piled higher into the mountain like a tide. Shen Qingqing's cauldron soul returned to her body, and 9 fires surrounded the queen's momentum, suppressing the entire audience. The jade robe hunted and her voice was like thunder. Jiang Chen Summit, Alchemy Overlord, I am Shen Qingqing. Han Xiao, the dog thief, escaped with serious injuries. The remaining veins of the demon sect have been exposed, and the source of the spiritual energy needs to be discovered. Thousands of people gathered together. The roar shook the sky, morale was like a prairie fire. The tall and lanky male cultivator wiped away his tears wildly and screamed. The contrast in status. The useless wood is against the sky, the furnace is heated with blood, and you are invincible when you reach the top. The female disciple admired with almond-shaped eyes. Su and Gu join forces, the sect empire expands the city, and only fairies dominate. Before Gu Sheng's shadow faded away, his starry eyes were deep and he whispered to Shen Qingqing. My friend, the climax has only begun. The burst of spiritual energy is not the way of heaven, but the conspiracy of the ancient devil. The ultimate demon lord hides the core of the earth line, and Han Xiao is just a chess piece. He rushes to the Jiangchen earth line. The decisive battle is coming. After saying this, the figure disappeared. The demonic energy surged in the distance. A huge black shadow loomed. Murderous intent locked onto the cauldron like a tide, and the flashing blood foreshadowed a bigger storm. Shen Qingqing's eyes were as bright as a sword, and his blood was rekindled. He clenched his jade fists, smelling the ultimate conspiracy. Under the morning light in the square, the alchemy empire was at its peak, and the crowds were worshipping endlessly. The morning light pierced the blood mist, and thousands of people knelt down in the square to worship like a surging tide. The rotten smell of blood and the sweet fragrance of elixir intertwined into a choking heat wave. Broken limbs and broken bones made a rattling sound when stepped on. The monks' nosebleeds were not dry, but they kowtowed enthusiastically, and their foreheads were stained with blood. The tall and thin male cultivator's knees were bruised with blood and mud, and his voice trembled like a candle in the wind. Fairy Shen, Queen of Alchemy, Han Mo escaped with serious injuries. The 3 coalition forces self-destructed in blood mist, and the dignitaries flew away like dog ashes. The female disciple had tears in her almond-shaped eyes, blood spattered on her skirt, and she screamed in worship. Good for nothing against heaven. The 9-fire cauldron ring is used to refine gods with blood. Long live the empire. Shen Qingqing hunted in her jade robe, her 9-turn black fire cauldron soul returned to her body. Red, gold, blue and orange flame dragons surrounded her body. The queen's spiritual pressure was like a volcano pressing over the top, sweeping over the whole place. Her voice was like thunder. Everyone, the summit is a great victory. Han Xiao Mo Zong chess. The disciples were defeated, but according to the warnings of the seniors, the ancient demon was hidden in the ground, and the spiritual energy burst out and the man-made disaster was not over. Quickly reorganize the army, sneak into the demon cave, and eradicate the roots. After saying this, Su Wan's shoulder injury healed, and the 3-foot-long giant body of the Fire Ape King roared, red. His eyes scanned the remaining enemies, the hair of the steel needle squeaked, and the fire civet cat was wrapped in orange flames. It smelled the residual demonic aura in the air, and the tip of its nose twitched. Qingqing the Ape King smelled it. Han Xiao's blood traces pointed directly at the secret warehouse of the black market in the north of the city. The demonic aura was strong like a rotten corpse. Jiang Chen's broken bones healed, and he got up and knelt down, punching his chest with blood spraying. Fairy Zhang's secret map has been completed. The entrance to the secret vault is under the ruins of the black market, and I will lead the remaining party to open the way. The demonic energy surged in the sky, and the black shadow disappeared. Shen Qingqing's heart trembled slightly, and Gu Sheng's voice sounded like a bell in his mind. My little friend, the secret of the poor man's hiding in the world, the ancient demon blood abyss demon lord, sealed the Jiangcheng ground line thousands of years ago. The burst of spiritual energy is the precursor of its resurrection. The demon clan's ruins hide the core of the secret vault, quickly destroy the rudder of the demon formation, and cut off its sacrifice. Her apricot eyes were cold, Her jade fist squeezed the air and snapped. "Let's go!" The three of them joined forces. The Fire Ape King roared to carry the leader. The red gold flametail swept away the remaining mist. Su Wan's fire cat led the way. The orange flame illuminated the blood path. Jiang Chen led hundreds of Zhang's casual cultivators to follow with swords. The sword light buzzed and tore the wind. The disciples in the square roared and followed. Their morale was like a prairie fire. In the ruins of the black market in the north of the city, the river of scorched earth and blood is steaming and putrid. Under the broken walls and ruins, the black mist of demonic energy fills the air, corroding the stone bricks, and the sour smell is as strong as the depths of a tomb. The 50 foundation building demon cultivators of Han Xiao's remnant party lurked in hiding. The leading demon general's face was sallow, his eyes were bloodshot, and he shouted with his hands, "The master is seriously injured, and the maid's cauldron is against the sky." The magic array of the secret vault is activated, and the blood sacrifice of 50 casual cultivators is to hold on to the clues of the ruins. They swallowed blood pills, their spiritual pressure surged, their magic patterns flashed, and they launched hundreds of blood soul whips. The accused casual cultivator's eyes were empty, and the magic ring around his neck was locking his soul. He knelt down and murmured, "Sacrifice." The demon general smiled cruelly. Shen Qingqing heard the wind and came. Although the powerful network collapsed, the golden elixir of this general will explode and crush your insect swarm. Su Wan's Fire Ape King's huge claws fell to the ground, and the ruins shook and rattled. His red eyes locked on the source of the demonic energy and roared loudly. "Ape King, sniff through the illusory formation." The orange flame fire civet scratched the void with its claws, hissing and tearing open the black mist, revealing the stone door at the entrance to the secret vault. The demonic pattern on the door was full of bloody light, and it was crushing with a roar. Jiang Chen's face turned livid, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. Devil General Lu He, Zhang's old enemy. The blood explosion technique has no solution, fairy. The casual cultivator's legs were soft and he knelt down. The tall and thin cultivator's nose was running wildly, and his voice was broken. "The remnants of Han are counterattacking. 5 after 10 foundation building blood sacrifices." The entrance to the secret vault was crushed, and the souls were controlled like puppets. "We are dead." The female disciple held her head and screamed, her skirt was soaked. "We just defeated Han Emperor. The Devil's Cave is in a desperate situation, the blood of the cauldron is exhausted, and the sex dream is shattered." Demon General Lu He laughed wildly, and smacked out his demonic palm. The blood mist turned into thousands of blood needles, which were shot at everyone. The poisonous flames from the needle points burned the air and created a stink. They pierced the shoulders of the soldiers in the front row. Their flesh and blood melted and creaked, and they screamed like ghosts crying and wolves howling. The Fire Ape King protects the master. His giant arm holding the needle cracked and shattered. The orange flames counterattacked, but the magic needle entered his body. Pain flashed through his red eyes, and he backed away with a low roar. Su Wan's pretty face turned pale, her heart was filled with anger, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Qingqing, the Ape King, was poisoned. Lu He's golden elixir exploded with blood, and the spiritual pressure was tsunami. Jiang Chen pinched the family jade talisman, and the blood soul chains came out and wrapped around the demon general, but they were backfired by the blood mist. The black tide of despair flooded the whole place again. The cultivators knelt down and trembled. The sounds of worship turned into cries. Some people's spiritual roots were broken, and the corpses twitched and the rotten smell filled the air. Lu He stood proudly in front of the stone gate, with a dignified attitude and contempt. "Shen Qingqing, the cauldron is useless. Your Majesty, remember the 9 fires. The blood of the poor will kill the sect, and the traces will be hidden forever." Just as he was about to detonate, Shen Qingqing's jade face was pale. The fire in his heart was as dim as a candle, and his meridians were burning with pain, and he could smell it. The bloody heat of the mist was approaching, and Gu Sheng's secret flashed in her mind. The ancient demon blood abyss, resurrected and sacrificed to the earthline casual cultivator, and the speed-refining beast devoured the pill to defeat it. She suppressed her weakness, and her apricot eyes erupted with the queen's cold light. "The Korean remnants are ants. The Devil's Cave is like a dog. Today's pill path will crush your blood and bones." With her blood boiling, she summoned the 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron with her jade hands. The cauldron was suspended in the air, and 9 fire rings of red, gold, blue and orange flame dragons danced wildly. The heat wave distorted the void, and the sky burned with thunder and roar. After swallowing 5 top-grade chi-building divine pills, the spiritual power surged like a river bursting its banks. The meridians clicked and reached the later stage of foundation building, and the mysterious fire foundation building technique loosened the golden pill. The sea of flames at the mouth of the cauldron billows, absorbing the blood of the demonic mist, boiling like lava, and the fragrance of elixirs erupts, sweet and bloody. The beast-eating elixir. The soul of the cauldron gathers the marrow, heats it with hot blood, and refines it. Thunder tribulation exploded in the cauldron. 9-turn golden light shot into the sky. Hundreds of red-gold beast-eating elixirs spurted out, and the elixir patterns were as dense as beast teeth. Gu Sheng sent a voice message and shouted, "Feed the pill to release the control." Shen Qingqing flew the sword, and shot out 10 red gold fire swords wrapped in pills, piercing the neck ring of the accused casual cultivator. Swallowing the pill, the magic ring cracked into pieces, his eyes were clear, and his spiritual power surged back to bite Lu He. The casual cultivators roared, "Fairy Shen's magic pill! The soul control is completely eliminated." The demon-devouring blood explodes. They rushed to kill with red eyes, and smashed their bloody fists at the remaining party members. Their bones cracked like thunder, and their flesh and blood flew everywhere, leaving a scorching stench. Su Wan, the fire ape king, swallowed the beast-eating pill, and the poisonous needle backfired. His red eyes were violent again, and he swiped his huge claws, tearing apart 20 demonic cultivators. His internal organs exploded like rotten melons, and the smelly blood mist filled the air. The ape king is invincible. The disciples' eyes widened, and the tall and thin male cultivator wiped away the nosebleeds frantically, his voice trembling with ecstasy. The fairy is in the late stage of foundation building. The beast-eating pill can control the soul, and the casual cultivator can counterattack and slay demons, reversing the magical skills. The female disciple kowtowed with tears in her eyes. The waste wood is full of blood, the cauldron ring has 9 fires, and the Korean remnants are desperate. Lu He's face turned pale, and the blood explosion collapsed, and the veins were cracked every inch, and his voice was hoarse and frightening. "Impossible. The beast bites the heavens, the Lord has no such information, and the divine elixir eats the marrow." He squeezed the formula wildly, and the blood exploded, and the blood cells in his abdomen swelled, but the erysipelas swallowed the soul. The black clouds dispersed, the morning light fell on the blood river. The sect expanded like fire, and the sound of thousands of people worshipping shook the sky. However, the spiritual pressure of the mid-stage golden elixir in the sky surged like a tsunami. Han Xiao's shadow was in the shadows, murderous intent locked the cauldron, and the bloody light flashed in the decisive battle. The 3 sneaked in, the orange flames of the fire civet illuminated the path, the black mist of demonic energy dissipated. The stone walls of the core ruins flashed with blood patterns, the reliefs of the ancient demons were huge and ferocious, and murderous intent was in their eyes. The spiritual energy exploded, the demons revived, the blood abyss sacrificed Jiangqing's ground. Gu Sheng's shadow reappeared, hunting in white robes. "Little friend, I have witnessed that the 10,000-year seal has been loosened, and Han Xiao sacrificed himself to help the demons." Shen Qingqing's blood burned again, and the black fire burned at his fingertips. The stone wall collapsed with a crack, and the demon formation flew away. He rescued hundreds of accused monks and knelt down with clear eyes. "Fairy, please help me." Jiang Chen got up, recovered from his injuries and roared, "Fairy, thank you." Although Zhang's chain is broken, the magic elixir is invincible. The fire ape king hit Lu He with his huge claws, his bones shattered like thunder, and the demon general fell to the ground spurting blood, with regret and despair in his eyes. "Shun, Queen, the powerful people are wrong, my lord. Chess pieces. Remains." Shen Qingqing stepped on the jade foot, crushed by the queen's spiritual pressure. Lu He's meridians were cut off, blood spurted out, and she trembled before dying. Ancient demon blood abyss. "The core of the earth's veins, a sign of recovery, forgive me." The corpse was burned to ashes, and the stone door of the secret vault was blasted open. After the great victory, Shen Qingqing retreated into the secret cave. The 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron was suspended in the air. The hot-blooded spiritual fire was pouring wildly. The sea of flames was churning to absorb the demonic energy of the earth veins. He was boiling. 9-turn golden pill, the pinnacle of foundation building, refine it. The thunder calamity in the cauldron exploded continuously. The 9-turn golden pill was illuminated by golden light. The fragrance of the pill was like a fairy mist. Thousands of grains were formed, and the spiritual pressure was close to the golden pill. Su Wan guarded the gate, the Fire Ape King roared to protect the law, and the army formed outside Jiang Chen's gate. The disciples worshipped endlessly. Fairy is in seclusion. A higher divine elixir. The Alchemy Empire is invincible. The sect's military strength skyrocketed. The casual cultivators swarmed to 3,000. And the mountain of spiritual materials was even higher. Jiang Chen led the crowd to liquidate the remnants of the Korean party, and the power network collapsed completely. The remnants of Han Xiao's party made a final counterattack. 10 demon cultivators dived into the blood boat. The blood cannons on the boat roared, and the fire and heat waves were scorching. Revenge for the Lord! Shen Qingqing sneered and threw hundreds of explosive pills. Purple gold fire rained down. The leader of the remnant party stared with bulging eyes, and his voice was broken and regretful. The magic pill has no solution. The Lord has been defeated. He blew himself up and turned into ashes. Deep in the secret cave, the demonic energy of the earth surges like a black tide, corroding the stone walls, and a sour and rotten smell assaults the nostrils, mixed with the aftershocks of thunder and tribulation in the cauldron. Shen Qingqing is sitting cross-legged on a futon. Her face is as pale as snow, her meridians are burning with pain like thousands of ants gnawing at her bones. The 9-turn black fire cauldron is suspended in front of her chest. The body of the cauldron is surrounded by 9 red, gold, blue and orange flames dancing wildly. The flame dragon roars and distorts the void, and the heat wave burns the skin and turns it red. She swallowed the last high-quality chi-boosting magic pill, and her spiritual power erupted like a volcano. The edge of the golden pill was loosened at the peak of foundation building, but she heard the roar of the demon in the sky. The earth's veins trembled and the blood light shot into the sky, dazzling. Shen Qingqing. The cauldron presents go up. The 9 transformation golden pill helps me break the seal. The blood abyss demon lord appears incarnate. The black shadow is huge and ferocious. The spiritual pressure is like a black hole swallowing everything. The blood mist around his body is steaming hot. Han Xiao's remnant soul merges into his eyes, and his twisted and sinister smile echoes. Outside the door, Su Wan's pretty face was pale. Her shoulder was aching from an old injury. The 3-foot-long body of the Fire Ape King was crouched down to protect the law. The red hair of the steel needle stood upright. His red eyes were locked on the black shadow of the sky, and a low roar in his throat was like rolling thunder. The fire civet cat was covered in orange flames. Its nose twitched and smelled blood. Its claws scratched the ground and rattled the gravel. Qingqing. The demon lord Han soul merged. The spiritual pressure crushed the whole city. The black market ruins ground boiled. The sect's 3,000 cultivators knelt weakly, and the powerful and remnant party heard the news escape. Jiang Chen led the Jiang clan's Baishio sword guards. The sword glowed and trembled. Beads of sweat fell on his forehead, and his voice broke with fear. The key to the fairy's retreat, the ancient demon's blood abyss, is resurrected. Han Xiao's self-destruction soul summons a clone, and the urban cultivation circle collapses. On the edge, casual cultivators were bleeding from the nose, and the sounds of worship turned into cries. Some people's spiritual roots were broken and twitched and fell to the ground. The smell of corpses was everywhere. We couldn't stop it. The tall and thin male cultivator's knees were bruised with bloody mud. His nose was mixed with tears, and he trembled in despair. I just defeated Emperor Han. The Demon King's black hole swallowed the sky. The cauldron's blood dried up, and the sect's dream was shattered like a dog. The female disciple screamed, her skirt soaked with blood. Her almond-shaped eyes widened in panic. The useless queen has not come out of seclusion. The Earthline sacrifice has been activated. Jiang Chen has fallen. The demon lord of the blood abyss took the shot, and the river of black mist and blood poured out, hissing and corroding the stone door of the secret cave. The heat wave burned the skin and blistered, and the stench was like a pile of rotten corpses. The Fire Ape King blocked the front with his huge claws, and the steel needle shattered and fell off. His red eyes flashed with pain, and he took a half-step back with a low roar. Su Wan spat out a mouthful of blood, and her heart was filled with anger. The Ape King was hit by the devil poison again. The devil's golden elixir peaked in spiritual pressure, and Senior Gu's voice transmission was slow. Jiang Chen pinched the family jade talisman, and the blood soul chain was in full swing. He came out but was burned every inch. The shock spurted blood and flew backwards. He hit the ground and broke his bones and then cracked them. His eyes were ashen. The poison left by the powerful and the ancient demon has no solution. Fairy. 3,000 casual cultivators knelt down and trembled. They tapped the blood on their foreheads and cried like a tide. Fairy Shen, help me. The demon lord is asking for the cauldron. The cultivation craze has turned into a sea of blood. The black tide of despair flooded the ruins of the black market. The ruins of the walls collapsed. The demonic energy hissed and swallowed up the vitality. The passers-by and the wealthy and powerful fled after hearing the news. The luxury car crashed and the flames shot into the sky, and the screams were mixed with blood. Just as the demon lord was grinning fiercely, accumulating energy and bursting with blood, golden light suddenly shone in the secret cave, and the sweet elixir was like a fairy mist, breaking through the black mist and soaring into the sky. The 9-turn black fire cauldron exploded 9981 times in a row. The sea of flames at the mouth of the cauldron churned and absorbed the demonic energy of the earth's veins. It boiled like 10,000 tons of lava. Shen Qingqing's blood boiled and the spiritual fire poured wildly. She kneaded the magic in her jade hands and shouted, 9-turn golden elixir, the cauldron soul is upgraded. After 81 difficulties refining, the 9 fire rings around the cauldron erupted into a wild dance of red, gold, blue and orange flames. The heat wave distorted the demonic shadows, and the thunder roared deafeningly. Thousands of golden elixirs were formed, and the elixir patterns were filled with golden light. Each particle's spiritual pressure was close to the edge of becoming a god. The fragrant aroma made the meridians numb, and the spiritual power surged. The stone door suddenly opened, and Shen Qingqing's jade robe came out. The queen's spiritual pressure was like a volcano pressing on top, and the 9-turn golden elixir surrounded her body. The golden light reflected the ruins and swept across the dark shadow of the demon lord with contempt. Han Xiao self-destructed his soul to summon the demon lord's clone? The Alchemy Empire is here. The blood of the ancient demon abyss, like a dog flying like ashes. Her apricot eyes erupted with cold light, throwing out hundreds of 9-turn golden elixirs, and the red gold fire rain poured down. The cultivators swarmed to swallow the elixirs, grunting into their throats. The spiritual power surged like a river bursting its embankment. The meridians clicked and reached the peak of foundation building. Some people rushed straight to the early stage of the golden elixir. Their eyes were red with ecstasy. The tall and thin male cultivator stopped bleeding after swallowing the elixir. His eyes were as wide as copper bells, and his voice was trembling and enthusiastic. Fairy comes out of seclusion. The 9-turn golden elixir defies the sky. The spiritual pressure turns into a god. The foundation is flying directly to the golden elixir. And my meridians are reborn and invincible. The female disciple's eyes were filled with tears, and the blood on her skirt dried up. Su Wan, the Fire Ape King, swallowed 3 golden elixirs, and his giant body expanded 4 feet. The red hair of the steel needle flashed with golden light, and the red eyes were violent again. The toxins were removed and he roared loudly. Jiang Chen got up and swallowed the elixir. In the early stage of the golden elixir, which instantly healed his broken bones, he punched his chest with blood spraying and rejoiced. Fairy, a great favor. Zhang's chain was reforged, the magic elixir was batched, and the network of powerful people was wiped out. The 3,000 casual cultivators upgraded collectively, and the golden elixir foundations were built one after another. The sword light buzzed out in unison, and the morale was like a prairie fire. They roared and followed. Queen of Alchemy, long live the Empire. Crush the ancient demon. Gu Sheng's white robe appeared in the sky above the secret cave. He waved his long sleeves and sounded like a bell. Little friend Pindo's hidden world inheritance has been opened. The Blood Abyss Demon Lord has sealed it for 10,000 years. Han Xiao sacrificed to eliminate man-made disasters. The golden elixir was quickly divided and the sect's army gathered. Shen Qingqing squeezed the air with his jade fist and sneered as he threw thousands of golden elixirs like rain. The disciples devoured the spiritual pressure and the tall man the golden elixir was formed, and the nosebleeds were wiped away in worship. Senior Gu joins forces. The inherited mental method is integrated into the sea of consciousness. The fairy elixir is supplied in batches. The spiritual materials are endless. And the urban cultivation circle is reborn. The female disciples' almond-shaped eyes were filled with tears. The aura of the golden elixir was lingering, and her skirt was hunting. The useless firewood is against the sky. The 9-turn heating calendar is difficult to refine. The sect is upgraded, and the powerful are like ants. The world changed because of her. The ruins of the black market shone with golden light. The evil black mist dissipated. The rotten stench turned to elixir fragrance, and the severed limbs and corpses were incinerated to ashes. The number of casual cultivators surged from 3,000 to 10,000. Jiang Chen led the Jiang clan to liquidate the last stronghold of the Korean remnant party. The mansions of the powerful were blazing into the sky, and they screamed like pigs. Queen Shen, spare your life. The divine elixir is invincible, and the empire is loyal. Han Xiao, the former chess piece, knelt down and trembled, with snot flowing violently as he presented a mountain of treasures from the secret treasury. Thousands of caddies of spiritual stones, ancient elixirs and demonic treasures that shone with golden light. Su Wan's huge claws of the Fire Ape King smashed open the treasure house, and the steel needle pierced the chain. The orange fire civet sniffed out the best spiritual materials, and the aroma was overwhelming. Qingqing, the harvest is overwhelming. The 9-turn cauldron is upgraded, and the spiritual materials are used for refining thousands of furnaces. Queen Shen Qingqing's majesty was overwhelming. Her jade feet stepped on the ruins, and her spiritual pressure despised the sky demon lord. The clone of the ancient demon, the spiritual energy burst conspiracy was exposed. Han Xiao's self-destruction summons? The elixir was crushed. The earth vein seal was reinforced. She swallowed 10 9-turn golden elixirs. Her spiritual power went straight to the edge of becoming a god. The Meridian's golden elixir was loosened. The Xuanhua foundation building technique merged with Gu Sheng's inheritance, and the 10 red gold fire swords of the flying sword technique buzzed out. The gold-wrapped pill shot at the demon shadow, hissing and burning the blood mist. The demon lord roared back, and the black hole's spiritual pressure collapsed. Han Hun's afterimage twisted and regretted. Sink the cauldron. The divine elixir turned into a god? Pindao was wrong. Gu Sheng's shadow flicked his sleeves, and the hidden world formation was activated. The blood light of the earth's veins clicked and the seal was strengthened. The ancient demon transformed into the blood mist and ate itself. It crashed into the abyss of the black market, shaking and rattling, and the stinky aftermath disappeared. The lingering power of the morning light turned peaceful, and the golden light shone in Jiang Chen. The reputation in the cultivation circle skyrocketed, and the cultivators worshipped endlessly. Fairy Shen's alchemy empire. The wastewood's passionate blood. A furnace that defies heaven, and the powerful will kneel down. Jiang Chen presented the family's secret map to complete, and all the treasures in the secret treasury were returned. The tall and thin male cultivator led the army to assemble. The voice trembled in admiration. The fairy's status is at the peak, and there are many sects in the city paying homage. The spiritual root awakening craze has returned to the sect. The female disciple distributed the golden elixir. Her almond-shaped eyes flashed with emotion. Thousands of 9-turn golden elixir. The sect's collective golden elixir. The inheritance of Senior Gu is priceless, and the blood will be heated and remembered forever. Su Wan hugged her best friend, and the Fire Ape King bowed his head with a low roar, the orange flames lingering in warmth. Qingqing, the aftermath of the great victory. Thousands of people in the sect died. Treasures piled up in the mountains. Retreat to refine higher elixirs. Shen Qingqing's apricot eyes scanned the audience, her jade lips slightly raised, overflowing with a sense of accomplishment, her blood trembling slightly, and Gu Sheng whispered in her mind. Little friend, the ancient demon is still alive, and the final battle at the heart of the earth is coming. Challenge the demon alone. The black shadows in the distance faintly reunited, and the murderous intent was locked, and the blood flashed like a tide. She clenched her jade fists and sneered. Come on! The morale of the sect's army was like a rainbow, and the swords and pills were intertwined, and they were ready to go in the soothing morning breeze. The golden light of the morning light shines on the ruins of Jiangqing's black market, and the fragrance of elixir lingers among the ruins. It is as sweet as honey and enters the nose, mixed with the faint fishy rot left by the demonic energy, making the meridians feel slightly numb. Thousands of casual cultivators were building golden elixirs one after another. Their swords buzzed and merged into a sea of fire. Their morale was like a raging flame burning the sky. They roared in unison and shook the sky. Fairy Shen's alchemy empire. Waste wood and blood. Crush the ancient demon. Jiang Chen's golden elixir spiritual pressure had just begun to form. After the broken bones healed, he punched his chest. The splash of blood turned into ecstasy. He led hundreds of cultivators of the Jiang family to kneel down and kowtow, with blood and mud on their foreheads. Fairy, you have given me all the family secrets. I am a powerful person. The remnants of the party are in ashes, and thousands of kilograms of ancient elixirs are at your disposal. Su Wan's pretty face flushed, her shoulder injury healed. The Fire Ape King's 4-foot-long steel needle flashed with golden light, and the Fire Cat's orange flame turned into gold. Its claws scratched the void and sniffed deep into the earth's veins. Qingqing, the Ape King's golden elixir, is invincible in the midterm. The sect's 10,000 people are dead. The treasure trove of spiritual materials is piled up, and the retreat to refine the higher elixir is just around the corner. Gu Sheng's phantom hunts in white robes, and the sound of the bell echoes around the world. My friend, the 10,000-year seal of the ancient demon blood abyss has been loosened. Han Xiao's man-made sacrifice has just begun. The murderous intention of the core of the earth line has reunited. Quickly gather the sect's army, and go straight to the demon nest. Shen Qingqing's jade robe fluttered. The queen's spiritual pressure dominated the heaven and earth. Her apricot eyes swept the whole place. She clenched her jade fist with a sneer. The elixir is unified. The demon lord is an ant. His blood is heated, and the 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron is activated again. She swallowed 10 9-turn golden pills. Her meridians clicked, and the golden pill was completed. Her spiritual power was close to the edge of becoming a god. The body of the cauldron was suspended in front of her chest. 9 fire rings, red, gold, blue, and orange flame dragons danced wildly. The heat wave distorted the air and burned her skin red. The crowd's worship was like a flood. The tall and thin male cultivator's eyes were as wide as copper bells, and the nosebleeds were wiped away with enthusiasm. The fairy's golden elixir is loose. The cauldron soul is upgraded to 81 thunder tribulations. The spiritual pressure becomes a god. The sect ascends to the empire, and the craze of cultivation is over. The female disciple's almond-shaped eyes were filled with tears, and the aura of the golden elixir lingered around the hem of her skirt. She screamed and kowtowed. Queen of useless wood, the inheritance and fusion of Senior Gu. The flying sword technique. The red gold fire sword is unparalleled. The dignitaries kneel down like dogs. Just as the army was getting ready to attack, the earth's veins suddenly trembled. The blood of the abyss shot up to the sky like scales. The demonic roar was deafening. The hot blood mist surged and hit the nose. The corrosive vitality hissed. The spiritual pressure of the black hole hit like a heavy hammer. The whole audience fell to their knees weakly. The sword light buzzed and shattered, and the nosebleeds spurted and the meridians rushed forward. The huge black shadow of the demon lord of the blood abyss burst out of the seal. His 100-foot-long demonic body twisted ferociously. His bloody eyes locked on Shen Qingqing. His ferocious smile echoed like thunder. Shen Qingqing. The cauldron is presented, and the 9-turn golden elixir helps me transform into a god. The spiritual energy explodes. This is my 10,000-year conspiracy. The earth veins are sacrificed to the world's cultivation, and the mortal spiritual roots are turned into blood food. The devil's palm fell, and the river of blood poured down the rotten stone wall. The heat wave burned the skin, and the skin blistered and fell off, and the stench was like a pile of rotten corpses rushing straight to the forehead. Su Wan's pretty face turned pale, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. The fire in her heart was reversed and the old injury recurred. The Fire Ape King's giant claws cracked in front of her and the steel needle fell off. Her red eyes flickered in pain and she roared and took 3 steps back. The demon master turned into a god and pressed down, and the black hole swallowed the sky. The Ape King's golden elixir was poisoned again in the middle stage, and his spiritual power was exhausted. Fire Spirit the cat's orange flame dimmed, its claws scratched the ground and gravel splashed, its nose twitched and smelled the blood mist, and it screamed back. Qingqing, the devil's nest at the core of the earth's veins is boiling. The whole city's spiritual energy is flowing backwards. The sect's 10,000 spiritual roots are broken and twitching, and the corpse stench is filling the air. Jiang Chen pinched the family's jade talisman and blood soul chains and came out, but every inch was burned and reverberated. He spurted blood and flew backwards, hitting the ground with broken bones and cracked eyes. His eyes were ashen. The ancient demon. The conspiracy was revealed, the aura broke out and the demon master controlled it. The global sect was on the verge of collapse. The network of powerful people was useless. We can't stop it. The tall and thin male cultivator's knees were bruised with blood and mud, and his nose and tears were mixed with trembling despair. Just after defeating the clone, the Demon King's black hole is overwhelming. The cauldron's blood is exhausted, and the dream of the empire is shattered like a dog. The female disciple screamed with her head wet, her skirt soaked with blood, her almond-shaped eyes widened in panic. The useless queen's golden elixir is not stable. The earth-line sacrifice is activated. Jiang Chen is reduced to a sea of blood, and the entire cultivation circle collapses. The demon lord's bloody eyes smiled ferociously, and the black tide of demonic energy flooded the ruins. The broken walls collapsed and life was devoured. Passers-by, ordinary and powerful people heard the wind and fled, and the luxury car crashed into the sky and screamed with blood mixed with blood. Gu Sheng's shadow trembled and faintly disintegrated, and his voice broke. Little friend, the inheritance of the poor Taoist has been taught. The devil is at the peak of becoming a god, and the core of the earth veins has no solution. Run away. Han Xiao cried like a tide, tapping his forehead with bloodstains. Fairy Shun, help! The devil asked for the cauldron. The heat turned into a sea of blood, and the spiritual roots were destroyed. The black mist of despair pressed over the top, and the devil's palm charged up blood to explode, and directly took Shen Qingqing's 9-turn black fire cauldron. In the afterglow of the secret cave, Shen Qingqing's jade face was pale and her meridians were burning like thousands of ants gnawing at her bones, but her hot blood was boiling like lava. Her apricot eyes erupted with cold light and she shouted, "Suppress your desires first, ancient demon ant. Heat your blood. Use the 9-turn mysterious fire cauldron. Integrate Gu Sheng's inheritance, and refine the ultimate 9-turn emperor pill." Biting the tip of the tongue, essence and blood poured into the body of the cauldron. The spiritual fire reversed the meridians and clicked the golden elixir to perfection. The sea of flames at the mouth of the cauldron churned and absorbed the blood light of the earth's veins. It boiled like 1,000,000,000 tons of lava. 99 and 81 thunder tribulations exploded again. The 9 red, gold, blue and orange flame dragon roared and distorted the void, and the heat wave burned the sky and burned the blood mist. The upgrade of the cauldron soul makes an ear-splitting buzz, and 9 pills of the Emperor's pill are formed. Each pill's golden light and dense spiritual pressure are on the verge of transcending the tribulation. The fragrance is like fairy mist rising into the sky, making people smell the rebirth of the meridians and the surge of spiritual power. The stone door suddenly opened, and Queen Shen Qingqing came out. The imperial pill surrounded her. Golden light shone on the ruins, and contempt swept over the dark shadow of the demon lord. Demon lord of the blood abyss, the spiritual energy exploded and conspired? The Dandao Empire was crushed, and the core of the earth was wiped out. She threw out 3 imperial pills and Su Wan, the fire ape king, swallowed them. The giant body swelled 10 feet. The steel needle's imperial light flashed. The red eyes rekindled and violently eliminated the poison. The giant claws ripped apart the river of blood, and the internal organs flew everywhere, burning and smelly. The ape king is on the verge of crossing the tribulation. Qingqing Emperor Pill, invincible. The fire civet transformed into an orange flame emperor, tearing the demon body with its claws and screeching, sniffing the core demon core with its nose and screaming to lead the way. Jiang Chen climbed up and swallowed the emperor's pill. He reached the peak of the golden pill that instantly healed his broken bones. He punched his chest in ecstasy and said, "Fairy, please do me a favor. Zhang's chain emperor refining will destroy the powerful forever. The emperor's pill defies the heavens. The spiritual pressure overcomes the tribulation. The waste wood's blood. The sect descends collectively. The female disciple's eyes were filled with tears. The blood on her skirt dried up. She screamed and kowtowed. The queen is out of seclusion. The 9-turn emperor's pill is difficult to refine, and the demon lord is in despair. Gu Sheng's shadow reunited, and the white-robed hunter Han Xiao laughed loudly. My little friend Emperor Z. The Pindao inheritance is complete. The hidden world formations are fully activated, and the earth veins seal the emperor level. Shen Qingqing's jade fist exploded the air, and he sneered and threw 6 emperor pills like rain, and Han Xiao swarmed to swallow the spiritual pressure. The skyrocketing golden elixirs appeared one after another, and the emperor's swords and lights came out to burn the plains with morale. They roared and followed. Queen of Alchemy, long live the empire. Crush the demon king. The world was turned upside down, the black market's golden light shone, and the demonic energy hissed away. The rotten emperor's fragrance lingered, and the corpses were burned to ashes. Jiang Chen led the Jiang family to clean up the demon nest stronghold, and the demon cultivator screamed and howled. Queen Shen, spare your life. The emperor's pill is invincible, please be loyal. The demon lord's chess pieces knelt down with trembling noses and presented secret treasures. The core map of the earth veins, 1 billion kilograms of spiritual energy source crystals, and the golden flash of the demon clan's imperial treasure. Emperor Shen Qingqing overwhelmed the emperor, stepped on the demon shadow with his jade feet, swallowed 3 emperor pills to overcome the calamity, and the spiritual power was loosened. The black hole's spiritual pressure was on the verge of shattering. And Cauldron Emperor pill, Pindo's conspiracy. Wrong. Gu Sheng flicked his sleeves, and the emperor's formation activated the earth veins to click and seal forever. The blood mist of the demon body of the demon ate itself and rumbled into the core abyss, shaking, and the stench disappeared. The truth behind the spiritual energy explosion is revealed. The devil has planned for thousands of years to control the source of the earth to sacrifice the world, and the craze for cultivating immortals has turned into a sea of blood, and the conspiracy has been shattered. The cultivation circle in Jiangchen was reborn, and many sects came to pay their respects. 100,000 spiritual roots of casual cultivators were awakened and returned to the Alchemy Empire. The tall and lanky male cultivator led the entire army in trembling worship. The peak of the fairy empire. The city is unified, and tens of thousands of spiritual materials are used to batch the magic elixir. The female disciple divides the emperor's elixir. Xingyan was moved. 9 transformation emperor pill. Senior Gu will always remember it. And the blood heats up the unifying pill path. Su Wan hugged her best friend, and the fire ape king bowed his head and roared with the warmth of orange flames. Qing, a great victory over eternity. The sect will be killed by 100,000 people. The treasures are endless, and I will go into seclusion to survive the tribulation and become a god. During the retreat, demonic energy surged in the sky, and a huge black shadow descended. The ancient demon transformed into the blood abyss demon lord and roared to the sky. Han Xiao's seriously injured figure sacrificed himself. The blood soul merged into the demon body, and he was resurrected. The final enemy's spiritual pressure was like a black hole swallowing the sky. Shen Qingqing, hand over the cauldron. 9-turn golden elixir. Help me break the seal. Murderous intent locked on the secret cave. The earth veins trembled, the blood flashed, the war is coming. Shen Qingqing's apricot eyes looked into the sky, her jade lips slightly raised, overflowing with achievements, her blood trembling slightly in her mind. Gu Sheng whispered, "My little friend, although the demon lord is destroyed, the source of the spiritual energy is peeped by the demons from the outside world, and a new global cultivation war is about to begin. Single-handedly defend the way." A black shadow from another world loomed in the sky, and the murderous intent was locked on the devil's breath. She clenched her jade fists and sneered. "Come on! I am the only one in the Alchemy Empire." The sect's 100,000 swords and the Ming Emperor's Danxiang were intertwined, gathering momentum in the morning wind, and their blood was burning forever. A new chapter is about to begin.